Okay. Let's call this regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Joshua Basin Water District to order. Today is Wednesday, August 19th, and the time is 5 p.m. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. Hello, staff. Our General Manager, Sarah Johnson, is away on approved leave, and I will therefore conduct the roll call and determine if we have a quorum. Director Flowen.
Present.
Director Fick.
Here.
Director Jarlsberg, who has an approved participation on Zoom. Is she allowed to, can she speak now? Director Jarlsberg. Roll call. Her mic's off. Looks like it.
And I would, Director Jarlsberg, her camera should be on as well.
Yeah, I can't see where I can.
Video on the bottom.
I don't see it on my screen.
On the bottom.
Yeah, no, I know where it's supposed to be. I'm not seeing it on my screen. Wait a minute here. Okay, can you see me now?
No.
Oh.
Not yet, no.
Fine. Oh, you tried to do it for her. She declined.
I have the camera on me, but I don't see where I can turn it on so you can see.
Want to try it again? Can you try it again? We're trying to ask you if you would accept. Wait, she sent it.
Something. Maybe I'm on the wrong Zoom or something. I don't know what's going on here.
Declined it again. Director Jarlsberg, you're on the correct Zoom because we're all here.
Yeah, obviously, but I'm not seeing where I can. I see where I have turned the audio on and it's.
Are you seeing a request? Yeah, so right there says you'll be joining as a panelist, rejoining the webinar as a panelist. So you're getting a request to click that. Just turn the audio on. Yeah.
Bingo.
You're on.
Okay, there you go. And so I'm just calling the roll. So Director Jarlsberg, are you here?
I'm here finally.
Okay.
And
All right.
I can just ask it now if you'd like. I don't know if you were planning, but I did want to just to comply with the Brown Act.
We have a forum. Yeah.
Director Jarlsberg, since you are video conferencing for a just cause, we just have to ask if there's any other adults attending the meeting at your location.
No other adult, although my dogs are older and you might hear them in the background.
Thank you.
Next up on our agenda is the approval of it. And I would like to request a change to the agenda and our general counsel, Jeff Hoskinson, regarding an urgent issue that came to the attention of the board since this agenda was posted. Counsel Hoskinson.
Yes. So as you mentioned, the general manager is on an approved leave temporarily. Under the administrative code for the district, you do have the option of appointing a general manager pro tem in her absence. And under the Brown Act, you are permitted to meet in closed session for employee appointments of such nature. So it does require the board make two findings, but we would be proposing that the board add a closed session item to the agenda for public employee appointment, general manager pro tem, per government code section 54957, on the basis that it is both an immediate action and one that came to the attention of the district after the posting of the agenda, since the district became aware of this situation on Monday, so 48 hours ago.
Board members, do I hear a motion to approve the agenda with the requested change for a closed session here at the meeting start?
Can I make a comment?
So-
Oh, yes. Okay, Director Flowen and then Director Jarlsberg, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say so moved,
Oh,
but I didn't hear what Director Flown said.
Well,
There hasn't been a motion yet.
just this, and that is that, even in this, right here, and online, I was reading a comment about putting, I don't know if the word is transcribing all of the comments
well,
that were done from here in the minutes.
let's talk to that when we get to the consent calendar in the minutes. Would that be okay?
I thought this was part of it.
No, we're just doing the agenda. We're just doing a change to the agenda and then we're going to go to the closed session. So,
Well, second James motion.
okay, second James motion. All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
I,
So right now, we're going to go into closed session. We're going to leave the room momentarily, and then we will be back.
Wouldn't be long.
Talk to mom yourselves.
You are a community.
Michael can actually entertain me, huh? Yes, sing your WD song for me.
I'm not sure how I'm joining you, but you'll let me know.
There's a JBWD song.
Oh, well,
Yeah, Jamie, we'll get
So we are just waiting for Director Jarlsberg to rejoin the Zoom. It's been a lot of technology, hopscotching tonight. So no, I see her. Yeah, there she is. Cool. All right. So we're turning to open session, and I would request that our Counsel Hoskinson provide the report out from our closed session.
Absolutely. I'm happy to do that. So on the item added to the agenda by the board this evening, the board on motion duly seconded voted unanimously among all board members present to appoint Ann Roman as General Manager Pro Tem for the duration of General Manager Johnson's entire leave. And again, that was unanimous by a vote of 4-0.
Thank you very much. And I would like to thank General Manager Pro Tem Ann Roman for filling in and for the entire staff for pulling together during this time, because I know it's going to mean, we all know it's going to mean additional load, and we appreciate you guys supporting Ann and continuing to keep the district's work moving forward. So here's our designated time for public comment. You may comment on any district-related matter, whether appearing on the agenda or not. We welcome public comment. You will also be able to comment on specific agenda topics during our meeting. Please understand that due to the Brown Act, the board is prohibited from taking any action on items that are not on the agenda. And those of you online, if you have something to say, use the raised hand option in the Zoom toolbar to be recognized. Are there any comments here in the room? Please come to the lectern and state your name.
Already signed in with him. Laird Davis, I live in Mountain View Trail. Apparently the county doesn't believe in judicial rulings anymore. We spent $25,000 for a lawyer and for costs for the Morongo Basin conservation people who helped out a lot. We thought we had won the lawsuit, but apparently it's being repackaged with none of the changes being made, and all the issues that existed before still exist. It's in your people's power to stop this thing, because apparently the county is going to jam this thing through no matter what the town thinks about it. And part of your charter is to protect Joshua Tree and protect the water.
Just a second, Laird. I'm not rushing you. I just wanted to remark that you're speaking of the Lovemore Ranch project.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't believe that was said, so I just want to share that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's about it. I appreciate you guys' help in stopping this. Because right now, you're the only people that can do it. The county's not going to do it. Apparently, the courts don't matter. So, thank you.
Thank you. And is there someone else that has a public comment?
She has a doggy too.
Yeah, she has a dog. Jane, you're missing the dog.
I'm Atlas. I'm a resident and I am the founder of the Joshua Tree Village Neighbors, and we're here to appeal to the board to please write a letter on our behalf asking for more information from the county about the, waste treatment plant and water retention ponds and all the mystery that they keep saying that they have gotten approvals for from the county. We need clarity. We need you guys to slow this down, send a letter, ask for more time. We wanted that on this agenda tonight and it was not available. We know that you're going to get it on the agenda for September 2nd. That is one day before it's due. That's really close call. But we really need a strongly worded, clear letter asking for more information so that we can slow this down. And I just spent an hour on the phone with the lawyer. This is a mess and it's going to take time, a lot more time, another lawsuit. And we need your help. We need support from this community. Unfortunately, they're not going to go away and the county is just going to keep approving things and looking the other way because they want the money. And we're your ratepayers. So please represent us. Thanks.
Thank you.
Can I add one other thing this week?
Well, sure, just quickly, Laird,
I
because
just
there are other.
wanted to mention that all the money behind this is Wall Street venture capital money. And they're looking to make hundreds of millions of dollars off the backs of Joshua Tree because our community is special. And they're going to come in and ruin it just to make more money for their corporate sponsors.
All right. Thank you, Laird. Is there anyone else that would like, okay, all right, come on up and state your name, please.
Hi, my name is Deborah Bollinger. I've been a ratepayer for 27 years. And I wanted to speak to my concerns about management of the district, and you've already dealt with one of the issues in advance. But I'm just concerned that there are a lot of very serious issues that the board has in front of it. We've got water quality issues, chromium-6, nitrates. We've got a power grab going on with the county trying to take over sewering authority. We've got water supply issues. We know that because of overdraft, we are importing 1,300 acre feet per year of water at a cost of $800,000 per year. And we know that the district is not reaching its conservation goals. I just heard in the last week that there has been no decrease in our gallons per capita per day. So I really consider this an all hands on deck moment. I don't like to be alarmist, but I am alarmed. And we have at the same time multiple vacancies, and you have solved one today. Thank you, Anne. But we have a board seat that I think should be filled sooner than later. And I know this is on the agenda later. The issue of a general manager is resolved. But we also have a director of operations position that hasn't been filled in 5 years. And it seems that while we're not meeting our conservation goals, nor do we have a conservation coordinator, no one responsible for that, it seems. So I just hope that we can all row together and get these vacancies filled and move on a lot of really important things. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next to speak in the room, is there anyone? Please come up.
Hi, my name is Erin Gatlin. While I live in Yucca Valley, I have a strong interest in this district because the management of this district does ultimately affect me as a resident of Yucca Valley. And I'm also interested in how business is conducted because how this board operates as a board and as a special district can impact how other entities, public entities in the Morongo Basin also act, because take notes, as it were. I attended the meeting on August 5th and provided comments. I was therefore really interested in how the significant amount of public participation and comment was addressed in the meeting minutes. The draft minutes of the August 5th meeting note the following regarding public comments. 28 comments were received electronically and 18 members of the public spoke at the meeting. The notes then include the results of the motion to remove items 7A and 7B from the agenda. I was surprised to say the least. I was there. People had a lot to say. I went back and looked at the meeting minutes for all JBWD meetings for this year. In 2026, public
Well, those emergency alerts, okay. Amber alert.
Is that my phone? It's not my phone, no.
Okay.
No, it's all our fault.
It's just all our phones talking. It was an alert.
Amber. Flooding or fire.
Okay.
Okay, so I went back and looked at all the meeting minutes from the beginning of the year. And in 2026, public comments were provided to this board 6 times, including August 5th. 5 of the 6 times the public provided comments, the minutes included the name of the person who spoke and the summary of their comment. The 6th time the public provided comments to the board, and that was August 5th, there was no record of the substance of the comments in the meeting minutes. None. I think this is a mistake. It is important to keep a record of public comment because it's a record, and also because it's district policy. Looking at the JBWD website, under public comment policies, the first paragraph clearly states comments will become part of the board meeting minutes. And in my comments that I've submitted, I actually have the web address. The policy is reflected in past practice by this board and should have been followed for the meeting on August 5th. I do recognize that reading and summarizing comments takes time and effort. I know personally because I did it for 25 years. And anytime I put a project out for public review. We did the work not just because the comments were part of the public record, but because importantly, it informed our work and supported decision-making. The letters submitted in advance of the meeting remain on your website and available for public review. This is a good thing. However, there's no written record of the comments provided by the 18 people who spoke at the August 5th meeting. 18 people who took time out of their day to be here are not acknowledged beyond a note that 18 people spoke at the public meeting. Again, this is not consistent with your stated policy or your past practice, and it seems inconsistent with your stated value of transparency. I did review the recording of the meeting posted online and my notes as well, and I offer the following brief summary of the comments provided to the board by the 18 people who spoke during the meeting. The vast majority of the comments supported President Doolittle, specifically comments noted how professional and forward-thinking she is and how hard she works. One commenter noted how much more engaged the board is with the community because of President Doolittle's efforts. Another commenter suggested that the board members owed President Doolittle an apology. I want to be clear about what I mean by vast majority of comments. All the comments were supportive of President Doolittle, other than the 4 or 5 comments that focused specifically on former Director Short. Many comments noted the lack of information provided to the public in advance of the meeting. Several also noted how inappropriate this was given the seriousness of the proposed action, namely reorganizing the board and censoring President Doolittle. Many comments also noted the lack of due process. President Doolittle wasn't made aware of the issue in advance, and as a result, she had no time to review or prepare a response. The actions of the 3 board members against President Doolittle was described as embarrassing, shameful and embarrassing, and appalling. The proposed censure was noted as inconsistent with how the board has dealt with issues in the past. The example provided was of the past president whose behavior was so egregious that a sheriff had to be present during the board meetings. This past president was not disciplined, much less censored. On the other hand, President Doolittle was alleged to have sent too many emails. What does this even mean? A number of people commented on potential violations of the Brown Act by 3 board members and the GM. Others expressed concern that San Bernardino County was somehow involved or that bribes had been paid. Whether the allegations are true or not, trust has definitely been done. I am concerned these comments will get lost or worse, purposely ignored. I think it is important to remember that this meeting caused a board member to resign and withdraw his candidacy for another term. Serious allegations were made against President Doolittle without any supporting information. It appears that board members and the GM may have violated the Brown Act. If we're talking about censure, these actions, if proved, could get you there because breaking the law as a public official is serious. It's also a serious breach of confidence and trust. In my comments to the board on August 5th, I noted that based on the report from the ad hoc committee presented during the meeting on July 15th, it appears there are issues related to communication and conflict that need to be addressed. In the draft minutes from the August 5th meeting, President Doolittle spoke very clearly and acknowledged her actions may have contributed to any communication issues. She also spoke about the willingness to address the conflicts and work through them. Other members of the board and the general manager have not. If you're actually interested in resolving the conflicts, the communication issues, you have to acknowledge your contributions to the situation as well. No one is a passenger in this situation and all have responsibility. A number of commenters expressed hope that the board will learn from this experience and do better in the future. To learn from an experience, you have to acknowledge that it occurred. Acknowledging both the depth and volume and the very clear messages from the people who spoke is the first step. I strongly recommend a more detailed summary of the comments received from the public, both the written comments and those from the meeting itself. Be prepared. Having those comments can inform your efforts going forward and improve decision-making. It is a lot of comments. I'm aware of that. Done this before. But it shouldn't be that challenging to use any number of tools that are available to you that can summarize them for you and probably even organize them for you in categories. And then you just have to look and organize them appropriately. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more public comments in the room? All right, I see that we have a number of people online. I don't know if any of them would like to make comments. If you want to, please use the interface that you're on. There's a little hand at the bottom. Oh, you have something?
My name is John, and I'm a Joshua Tree resident. And I'm here in regards to the Lovemore Ranch proposal as well. And I just showing support for my friends here who already spoke. And just want to urge you, we are down to the last wire. The fact that it has been postponed to the 2nd, and we only have till the 3rd, really just, I'm here again, taking time out of my day just to, again, show up before you guys and hopefully make an impression that it's really important to me and a lot of others. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So as I was, I think public comment is continuing. Did you have a clarifying question, Director Jalsberg?
Yes, I did, of the previous speaker. I just wanted to say that because the agenda items were pulled, more information was not available to be shared that would have clarified more stuff. And it was, we were following the Brown Act to not be able to speak except some clarifying question possibly during the public comment. So I want her to be aware of that.
All right, thank you, Director Jalsberg. And I'd just like to remind everybody that we can make short statements in response to public comments or ask clarifying questions. I was just trying to tell everybody online, if you have a question for us, you have to use the raise hand option, which is on the interface of Zoom. It's down on the bottom. It looks like, a hand raised. And so you click that, and then you will be allowed to speak in the meeting if you have a question or a comment, a public comment. Let me give that a moment, see if anybody has anything. It doesn't look like it. I just want to share a couple of public comments that were given to us. Here's one from Judith Baker, she is a Joshua Tree resident who believes in transparent government, which she believes values public engagement. All public comments, regardless of whether they are email or live, are vital parts of JBWD meetings. However, none of the numerous public comments given at the 8/5/26 meeting were included in the draft minutes. This is unacceptable. She recommends that all public comments for JBWD be included in the official record, and in particular, minutes of the August 5th meeting should not be adopted until they are updated to include both the email comments and the in-person and Zoom comments that the public made. We have an email from Julianne Elliott, who says, do not adopt the 5 minutes until you have included all public comments that were either made in person or via Zoom or email. We have a email public comment from Dawn Davis, Joshua Tree resident. First, I want to thank the board for ultimately removing agenda items 7A and 7B from consideration at the August 5th meeting. However, I believe removing those items does not make the questions surrounding them disappear. After 26 minutes of public comment, the director who had reportedly requested these items made the motion to remove them. Yet the public still has not been told what specifically prompted a proposed censure and board reorganization in the first place, or why those items came before the board in the manner they did. We now understand that the director who submitted the request has resigned. We also recognize there may have been communications among multiple board members and the general manager and possibly the Water District's attorney concerning these matters before the August 5th meeting. Given those circumstances, the public deserves a full and independent investigation of how items 7A and 7B came to be on that agenda. This investigation should be managed openly by the board in conjunction with a different legal firm. Excuse me for a second. This is not about assigning blame. It is about transparency and restoring public trust. Ratepayers have a right to know what happened, how much board, general manager, and legal counsel time was spent on these matters before August 5th, and what role the general manager played in preparing and presenting these agenda items, particularly when the board president was not included in the usual agenda setting process and ultimately became the subject of one of those items. If there were communications that crossed the line from individual discussion into coordinated action, the public deserves to know that as well. The Brown Act exists precisely to ensure that important public business is deliberated openly rather than developed behind the scenes. I respectfully ask the board members and district management to keep this matter in the light of day. Conduct a thorough and independent review of how 7A and 7B came to be and explain what steps will be taken to address any harm to district staff, the board, and the community. Finally, I believe the district should examine whether its current legal representation can independently and appropriately advise the district about these events, including whether a change in counsel is warranted. The items may have been removed from the agenda. The questions have not been removed, and the ratepayers deserve answers. Thank you. Dawn Davis. And we have a letter from Erin Gatlin, which I believe she just read, and I believe that is it as far as public comment goes, and we have no hands raised online. Do you have a clarifying question?
I have a clarifying question. I will address some particular parts of Lovemore in my director's comments, which are near the end, so it's worth waiting for somebody to speak.
Right. It doesn't appear that there's anyone else who wants to address the board during general public comment. And we've already discussed the submitted public comments, and seeing no more public comment, we'll close that and we'll move now to agenda item 5, which is the consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar are expected to be routine and non-controversial, to be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. If a board member would like an item to be handled separately, it will be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. The only item on the consent calendar today are the minutes from August 5th directors meeting. Are there any requests from the board for separate action on the August 5th meeting minutes? That's your request? Okay. Item 5A has been pulled for separate consideration, so that now means it becomes 6A. So Director Fick requested item 6A be pulled. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I would like clarification. It was requested, well, I would request it also, that all the comment letters, the 26 or 28 comment letters be included in the minutes. And then also to reassure the oral comments that it's pretty much a given that our YouTube videos stay on for as long as they can be. I don't want that YouTube exhausted or removed of the August 5th meeting.
All right. Director Flowen, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I've been hearing a little bit about that too. Also, here, but what I would like in the requesting from staff, some sort of a direction, in the title of the meeting minutes, instructing readers that they can go to YouTube and exactly how to do that and where to go in order to access the recording of the meeting, which, as I checked today, the public comments were included in the recording of the meeting, and that they continue to remain there, because I guess there's an option to not put in public comments for fear of what somebody might say. But anyway, there are people that may not know that they can go to YouTube and watch the recording of a meeting, which would include all of those comments that were made. I'm hoping that there's some sort of a technology to where we could, and I'm not a tech person, where we can convert what was vocally said to printed material and add it, because I shudder at the thought of Lisa right there having to listen to this meeting and type everything out. We don't have a big staff here, and so I shudder at the idea that she would have to spend potentially days. Usually it would be short, but potentially days transcribing. I think that's the word. This material, so it could go into the paper art minutes. But something an instruction at the top of the meeting minutes, telling people where they can go to hear the full thing.
You have a comment about this item 6A, please.
Have a comment about what he just said.
Okay, just wait 1 second. Yeah, just wait 1 second until the board finishes. All right, Director Jarlsberg?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that when you go to the website, in the homepage, there's a little icon of YouTube up in the upper right-hand corner. You click on that, it takes you to all previously recorded board meetings, and October 5th is there right now. It's actually been there almost a week, and people have been watching it. You'll see that also the number of people that have watched it is added up there. But the instructions on the minutes is probably a good idea too, because I actually had trouble finding that little icon, but if you look carefully enough, you'll recognize it to just be the YouTube button. So, and they're trying to get the recordings out as quickly as possible also, for if you want to check tonight's, it should be up in a week or so. And there is a technique for your computer to listen to verbal words and have it typed out in like a dictation, or Lisa probably can find that, or maybe has used it already.
So I have a clarifying question. Director Jarlsberg, you said something about they're trying to get the comments up as soon as possible. What did that mean?
No, the agenda. I mean the meetings.
Meeting minutes.
The video of the recording of the meeting is getting on the website pretty quickly through YouTube.
Yeah, that came because of my Public Records Act request that I made a few weeks ago, which was a difficult situation, but we managed to get it going. So I know that there's a public comment, but I would just like to, unless either one of you had anything.
Add, the YouTube does have a horrible transcription service on the left.
Yeah.
Phonetic, so
there's lots of technology options here. So I just request the following changes to the minutes under my director remarks, where it says Doolittle also expressed her appreciation for President Short and his actions during the meeting. Those last 5 words, I was actually referring to how he handled withdrawing items 7A and 7B. So I'd like those words to be replaced with these 8 words regarding his withdrawal of items 7A and 7B. So now is there some public comment that needs to happen regarding this agenda? Okay, all right, thank you so much. So seeing no further discussion, is there a motion to approve item 6A, the draft minutes from the August 5th Board of Directors meetings with requested, I had one more thing to say, I apologize. One more thing, sorry, just teasing everyone. So I agree with that there needs to be a summary. I wonder why there were different from the other many meeting minutes that we've already had this year, where there were references made to the topic. It's a very, it almost becomes useless if you just put, these items were the dawn, and then they went on to something else. And there was this huge block of time and a lot of heart was brought into it from the community and all of that. None of that is being shared in here. And I think just even a summary of that, much like has already been done on other agenda items. Curious to me was that the public comment policy on the website appears to have changed. It said at one point that comments will be included with meeting minutes, but then now it doesn't say anything about that at all. So, all right. So is there a motion to approve item 6A draft minutes from the August 5th Board of Directors meeting with requested changes?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
No.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah, Director Strasberg. Okay, you have a question.
Before my vote, for one thing, I was wondering if our legal counsel could comment on the insert of the entire recordings of the comments. Because I have heard that it really isn't practical to include every word that is spoken at the board meeting, especially when we have the recordings, and that a summary could suffice. And then I was also wondering if you wanted in the additions or whatever they might be called that you said in your last paragraph that you added, was that going to go in as changes in the minutes? I thought that's what we were talking about, is things that we wanted added to the minutes. So I'm talking about the president's comments, your final comments. Where did you want that going, or is it just a comment?
Well, okay, so first let's handle the question with counsel that you asked. Thank you.
I'm happy to go into it to the level of detail that you like. You really have two issues that exist. One is a policy consideration, and the other one's legal. From a legal standpoint, minutes are only required by statute for a county water district to include a record of actions taken and the general votes associated with those actions. And then under your administrative code that the district has adopted, you have added a couple of additional requirements. You provide the minutes will reflect the names of directors present as you enter them at roll call. If a board member requests and the board consents, the board member can ask for a summary of their own statements to be added to the minutes. And then a director's dissent or protest against a board action on that director's request can also be entered into the minutes. So that's what your administrative code and legal requirements are. There's nothing in the administrative code or law that requires the minutes to reproduce, transcribe, or even summarize public comments. And actually, the Brown Act only guarantees an opportunity for people to comment. It doesn't guarantee a right for those comments to be entered into the minutes. And actually, the Brown Act itself doesn't require minutes. It's only comes out of the County Water District Act. But that said, the board has significant discretion in terms of what you want included in your minutes. So it could be certainly a matter of policy if you wanted to look at some form of expansion. Obviously, on one end, you have action minutes. The far end of the spectrum, you have full transcription. And then in the middle, you have a hybrid of the two. And the board could certainly look to move its minutes somewhere along that hybrid, but that's a policy consideration for the board.
Are there any other questions? So I have a question then. At this time, can we request a hybrid of the two be included in the minutes as a change?
I would recommend, obviously you're talking about these particular minutes. If you want to talk about amendments to these minutes, you certainly can. I'd recommend that you agendize a policy change on the next agenda so it's properly identified on a meeting agenda, and then have that discussion in terms of making that change permanently going forward. But obviously for these minutes that you're looking at now, the board obviously is going to decide whether or not they want to approve those minutes. And if you have adjustments there, you can certainly request that they be made.
Right. Well, as I said, we did have a public, there was a policy on the website. I didn't capture it, but it said, I may have a screenshot of it, that it said that comments will be included with the meeting minutes. And as we know, that's happened for the past several times already in 2026. And then yet here we are with an agenda with the biggest crowd that we've ever had in the district. And there's no transparency that actually happened. And I don't understand, and I don't think the community understands why there shouldn't be at least a summary of that. Yes, General Manager Pro Tem Ann Roman.
Just a quick thing that I learned recently as I've become more involved in these things. Jeff was able to explain to me that there is a difference between written comments that occurred during the COVID era and the requirements now. So it perhaps, I don't know this for a fact, but perhaps that prior policy or statement that was on the website related to the requirements of the COVID era. And I don't know if you can expand on that a little bit, Jeff. Any comments?
I could do my best only because I don't know what that comment on the website was. So I don't know when it was there, when it went away, when it was up. But as General Manager Pro Tem Roman is commenting on, there were changes made during COVID where agendas, and I think your agenda was changed to reflect that comments could be emailed in and provided to the board. Particularly in the early days of COVID, it was difficult to make public comments and everything went online. So there were changes there. And then there were modifications and acceptance of written comments. So there were changes that occurred during the early stages of COVID that most agencies then pulled back as we developed Zoom, we developed different methods and left the COVID era. So I don't know if that language came from that or not. I was not familiar with the language, so I can't really speak to that. But there were changes made during COVID that gave greater allowances for written comments, not just at Joshua Basin, but across the board in other districts.
Yes, so thank you. And as I said,
President Doolittle.
oh yeah, Director Dawes.
I just had a comment on what you were saying about transparency. I would guess that more people watch the video than ever read our minutes. And these videos are there, very easily accessed. And I don't understand why that wouldn't be considered, transparency over and above written minutes. I mean, not over and above written minutes. It's the same with most written things on websites. If there's a video, people are going to watch it, but reading is a lower priority. And I understand the urgency on the part of people who participated in that meeting as commenters. But if you want to see what was actually said, it'd be more accurate to watch the video, the recording. That's my opinion also.
So I have a couple of things, if I may, because Director Jarlsberg asked two things. And one is that she wanted to know where my change would go. My change would go in the director's report, because that's where I said that. Oh, no, I said it right after he actually spoke, right after Vice President Short spoke. I said that after he withdrew those comments. That's when I said that. So that's where I think it was put in my director comments. So my director report. So if that could be changed, that's where that would be. Then regarding the video, I just want to share that there's something called news crawlers. I'm sure you know about that, but there are crawlers that go and look at printed materials. And so then there's a lot of things deduced from those printed materials and aggregated and put out somewhere that's not necessarily, they don't have access to the video, or they don't do the video transcripts. So that's not necessarily a defense of, that's where the public's going to get its information. Some of the public's going to get its information just from the written. And we don't need to ignore the fact that there are people that read. I actually prefer reading than watching videos. It's faster. I'm a faster reader than I am a video watcher. I just want to return to the fact that I think that there could have been a summary. There were a lot of public comments. I think there could have been some sort of a summary there. If we've already done it 5 to 6 times in the minutes already this year and included the name and the contents of what those comments were, I don't understand why we didn't do it here. And yes, it was 28. But we could have actually put an addendum. You just say, see addendum, I would imagine, to the minutes, and it goes at the back of the minutes. So I would like to make a motion then that we make my requested change regarding what I said, and then request that we have a summary of the public comment here and online, a summary and a listing of the people who named themselves, and as an addendum to the minutes. I make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
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 I think you folks want that, right?
Yes. Yes.
Well, I don't know what the summary's gonna say.
I'll say aye.
So we have 3 ayes and which,
I'm gonna abstain because I don't really understand how that's gonna manifest.
I think this is my first time anybody's abstained, but so just explain that to me, counsel, because I don't understand. Does that mean we can just do that? She can abstain, right?
Yes, absolutely. So it would be, if I'm understanding it right, you'd have a 3-0-1 vote. So it would you have no votes against, but you have 3 votes for, and then 1 no vote, or 1 non-vote. Sorry.
There's a line for that.
So the minutes are approved with those requested changes, 3-0. And now we move to the action calendar part of the agenda with 5 items under consideration by the board. Here's the really exciting part, people. So item 7A is California Public Employees Retirement System. That's CalPERS. It's contract amendment, an update to the PEPRA provisions. And here the board will be considering Resolution 261098 to amend the contract between CalPERS and Joshua Basin Water District. And our Human Resources and Risk Manager Director, Adriana Sheehan, please proceed.
Good evening. The district's CalPERS contract, originally effective August of 2008, is being amended at CalPERS' request to clarify and update the retirement provisions applicable to district employees. The amendment distinguishes between classic members who are subject to the 2% at 55 formula and new or PEPRA members who are subject to the 2% at 62 formula under Government Code Section 7522.20. This is a housekeeping amendment that does not create or provide any new retirement benefits. It simply updates the contract language to accurately reflect the benefits currently applicable to the district employees. The district recommends approval of Resolution 261098 to amend the contract between CalPERS and Joshua Basin Water District. Thank you.
Now's the time for board deliberation. Are there any comments or questions from the board regarding this item? Do I hear a motion to approve Resolution 261098?
All of a comment?
Oh, you do? Okay, all right.
Public comment?
Oh, is there a public comment about this? Okay, all right. So do I hear a motion to approve this? Okay, so,
Yes.
yeah. Is there a second?
President Doolittle, I have a question. I don't see the resolution. I didn't see it listed on the agenda where we could find it.
Page 13.
Pardon?
Page 13.
Page 13? Resolution 261098,
Correct.
page 13. Okay, let me scroll there real quick.
It's a short one.
Oh, okay.
Corrections.
Oh, and the amendment is attached? Oh, here. Oh, okay. Okay, I'm ready to vote. I'm sorry.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. So to approve resolution 261098, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries with all four board members. Okay, moving on to item 7B. This concerns the 2025-2026 bad debt write-off with a staff recommendation to approve the write-off of $53,968.56. Our Director of Finance, Ann Roman, who is also our General Manager Pro Tem, has covered this for many years that I've been on the board, and she makes it pretty simple for people to understand. There's a great report in our packet, so please take it away.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. We do have the bad debt write-off topic on the agenda tonight, and I have, I have a presentation I'm going to share. All right, we'll try to make this as straightforward and brief as possible. So, spelling. Okay. So in total, bottom line here, we have a proposed 2025-26 write-off of $53,968.56 to be precise. That covers 189 customer accounts, and we have a budget set for this fiscal year of $61,000, so that is 88% of the budget. What the board would be approving tonight is an accounting write-off that is required for audit purposes. It is not something that forgives or extinguishes any of debt and does not prevent future collections if the opportunity arises. We have, in addition to that total, we have a few other statistics, such as the amount of that write-off total as a percentage of the 24-25, that should say 24-25, I apologize, water revenue. So this is always a year behind. We're looking at debts that hadn't been paid through June 30th, 2025. And so this amounts to 0.69%, less than 0.75% of our water-related revenues. The average account balance is $285.55. And we'll look at the year-over-year change. So compared with the prior year, we are looking at an increase in bad debt of $8,182.50, which is about 17.9%. And an additional 32 accounts, about 20.4% of an increase. But the average of the account balance included did decline from $291.63 to $285.55. The largest individual write-off included declined from $5,504.33 to $3,088.23.
Excuse me just a second, please. I'd like to make a point of personal privilege. Can that screen be made larger? Where it fills the screen and then we return to the visuals on the screen, or
is that helpful?
No.
I think you can close out the participants and then more of your.
That gave us a little bit more.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. So the deposit status, what this says is the risk signal is working. Basically, what this means is that we are seeing that the customers that we're requiring to pay a deposit when they establish an account with us, with the district, are leaving higher balances. And so that means that they are, that essentially means that they are higher risk to the district. The accounts that required a deposit based on either a red or yellow credit check were 53 accounts and about 28% of all the accounts, but they accounted for 47.7% of the write-off in dollars.
be no deposit required accounts, so green credit checks, more accounts, and we believe that is most likely due to customers getting confused at the end of their time with us. They close their account and they don't realize there's another bill forthcoming because we bill in arrears. However, those green credit checks amount to a larger percentage, but a much lower dollar amount, 14,000 compared to 25,000 of the bad debt. Sorry, I have to scroll back out here so I can go to the next page. Okay. Customer type. So we have here on this screen, we can see the difference between previous owners, tenant accounts, and current property owners. This really speaks to our property lien program, wherein we are able to, if we have an owner or an owner guarantee, basically an owner request for tenant water service, we're able to lien the property if the account does not ultimately pay their debt. So the collection process that we go through before we get to this point of having to write off the bad debt is, of course, we produce a final bill and billing notices to the customers. If the bill goes unpaid, we do send an intent to lien or intent to file lien notice. We transfer balances and deposits where available, and we also make use of the owner application for tenant water service and ultimately property liens, and tax sale monitoring. So we do monitor when the county does finally, after 5 years, subject a property to tax sale and file a claim if that's appropriate. We also have as of 6/30/26, we have 149,000, almost 150,000 in liens receivables. So those are liens that are out there filed on properties that we are anticipating at some time in the future. Those liens are good for 10 years and can be renewed at some time in the future when those properties change ownership, that those liens would be enforced. In this fiscal year that we're talking about here, 25/26, we will receive payment on about 20 liens and $16,515 in payments. I made a note as well that lien payments have slowed compared with some prior years, which likely reflects the slower housing turnover, which we see that when we receive our revenue from that the county bills on our behalf. We see those slowed prior payments coming in, so it reflects that the property housing market may be slowing. Overall assessment for bad debt write-off here. We have a table. I have this in 2 topics tonight because it really relates to both of the topics, but I put together a table of accounts receivable balances and bad debt balances. Oh, let me try to zoom in on this. This is kind of tiny. That's better. So you can see that in 1819, our accounts receivable was at about 530,000, and our bad debt was at 22,940. Then in 1920 and 2021, SB 998 came into the picture. So this law that was put in place required that basically the period of time allowed for a customer before they can be shut off for non-payment basically doubled. And so now you see that balance really go up between 1920 and 2020 and 21 from 678 to 907. And the bad debt catches up a few years later. In 21-22, the bad debt's low because California had an arrearages program that actually provided credits for customers that had high balances. And that was part of I think it was part of the SB 998 implementation that they put that arrearage program in place. So balance was very low for bad debt in 21, 22, but then you can see it just picks up after that. And it jumped up quite a bit in 23, 24, but has stabilized somewhat since then. So what appears to be working, I mentioned the unpaid bills earlier, that we tend to see customers sort of forget about those final bills. And what appears to be working for us is that current owner balances remain low because liens and other collection tools are appear to be working. So we have identified and are working on a plan to communicate more with customers about their final bills because we realize there's some confusion there potentially. And so we're working on a program for that.
Can I make a?
Yeah.
So looked at some statistics. So can you go back one slide with the
This is our Director of Administration, David Shook, for those of you who don't know.
Sorry. In January, this is all 2026. In January, we had 190 returned envelopes that were mailed out to customers or previous owners or tenants. February, there were 318. March, there were 326. April, there were 266. May, there was 259. And in June, we had 311 returned envelopes.
Bills.
Yes.
Bills first.
So the communication part, we can use your help with that. We can use your help with that. We want to have updated information so that we can get this, what's needed to the customers in a timely manner. So that's a total of 1,670 envelopes that were returned. The dollar amount to that is $1,302.60 that we spent to have, and that's just for the postage. That doesn't count for the letter, the ink, and envelope as well. So it costs a lot to try to send this information out, and we're working on a more thorough way to communicate with our district customers.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to add, whenever I've come in, it's surprising. The stack is so high. I've never seen so much return mail.
Yeah, we do get a lot of return mail. That is definitely a concern, but we're always trying to improve our processes so that we can reach folks for not just to provide them their bill, but, you know, in case of an emergency or any other district business, important district business, we want to keep in touch with our customers.
What's the main reason for return?
It's got the yellow slip on it, the little yellow sticker on there from the post office. So undeliverable. I didn't make a note of that.
A lot of folks don't tend to update their address when they move, especially. We have some transient, military community that will move out of the area and won't necessarily update their addresses with us, just for one example. Yeah. So finally, in conclusion here, the recommendation for board action is to approve the audit write-off, required write-off, and preserve ongoing collection remedies where available. The write-off amount will be $53,968.56, and that is 88% of the $61,000 budget. And again, a reminder that this accounting action does not necessarily terminate the district's right to collect if collection remedies remain available. And we'll talk more about remedies in the next topic as well.
So thank you. Because we have the pleasure of so many people from the public participating tonight, does anybody have any questions about what you just saw? Yes, please come or shout it out. Come on up.
I'll shout. I just wondered, is there some minimum amount due that will trigger a tax lien? And well, if someone owes less than $100, are you still going to lien their property?
Well, there's a few limits that are in place. So for shut off for non-payment, we exempt any bill or any balance that is less than a month's bill. So we don't subject that account to shut off. If it gets to the point where the account's been closed and it's delinquent and we are anticipating filing a lien, we do start that process usually at a $250,000 threshold. $250 threshold, not thousand. Yeah, $250 threshold that we start that lien process. Other than, below that balance, it's really not worthwhile. And there are fees associated with that as well. So we don't want for the customer to incur those fees for a small balance. Now, what the county does with those liens, once they're filed, it's up to the county to go through the process of tax sale. If customers or if the parcel owners do not pay their taxes, which includes not just our liens, but excuse me, I'm talking about something else now. Let me back up. We also have assessments that are on the property tax bills, and that's a different issue. The liens actually just sit there. We don't foreclose. We don't, those are not subject to tax sale. It is the assessments that are put on the property tax roll that are subject to the county's process, which could ultimately include tax sale. So I'm sorry, I misspoke.
All right, thank you. I'm assuming there's nobody online requesting any questions, and so once you show the participants, doesn't look like it. So are there any questions from the board? I want to call on Director Jarlsberg first because it's easy to overlook her there on the video screen. Do you have anything?
No, I had questions, but they're really not related to the resolution. So we'll just move on as far as I'm concerned. Thank you, Ann. Director
Flowen, do you have any questions?
I just have the comparison. $53,000 is about $3,000 more than the entire annual budget for the board. So
For the pay and for the training and the per diems and the stipends, yeah. Oh, just the training? Okay. I thought the training was 25,000, just 5,000 per board member. All right, so Director Flowen, I don't have anything to say. So
well, just to say that these efforts that we go through, I was seeing somewhere in all of 61 pages that we do measure our response to bad debt based on the amount that it is. It could potentially be beneath our threshold of interest, that kind of a thing. And also that the efforts that our accounting staff go through are a way of protecting all of us that are paying our way fairly for the water that we use. And everybody should share in the load. And we can't have certain people deciding for one reason or another that they're just not going to pay their water bill. Everybody needs to pay their fair share, in other words, and pay for what they use. And we're going through all of this to make sure that they do.
all right, so do I hear a motion to approve item 7B, approval of bad debt write-off?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. No opposed. Let the record reflect. Motion carries unanimously. Next up is resolution, is somewhat related, number 26-1096 regarding collection enforcement, liens, and bad debt write-off and policy. Director of Finance acting in that role, Ann Roman.
Thank you again. Yes, so we have a related item, collection enforcement. This is really where our SB 998 Water Protection Act collection policy ends, this policy begins. So this applies to those post-delinquent activities such as filing liens, dealing with the bad debt write-off, and also we receive bankruptcy notices occasionally that we have to process and a legal process that we have to go through. So this policy really is providing a comprehensive governance framework for the district staff to address these activities and not have to bring each and every one of these individual situations that come up to the board. Now, we still have the annual write-off, and that would continue to be brought to the board and reported to the board and approved by the board, I should say. However, this policy addresses what the initial write-off is. So that's what we did today. We'll keep that debt on the books for 4 years, which is the legal limit on collections. And unless there's a lien filed, the lien extends that statutory period of time. And then when that 4 years passes and there's no lien in place, we come back and we permanently write those off at that point because we can no longer legally collect that debt. So this addresses that initial accounting write-off. It addresses that permanent write-off. It addresses how to deal with liens, bankruptcies, and the various situations. We also run into some unusual situations where there just are not any longer any ability for us to collect. Perhaps, there are various situations that arise, but they're what the policy is calling one-off situations, so that we don't have to bring each one of those situations back to the board for individual approval. This would give the general manager or the general manager's designee the authority to handle these items. Sorry, I do have a presentation. Let me bring that up. It's talking away, but. That's the time. Oh, there we go. All right, so for this topic, the recommended action will be to review and adopt the resolution, which is number 26-1096 and the policy. The focus of the policy again is collection enforcement, property liens, bankruptcy, write-offs, reporting, and control. So this gives us also some guidelines on documentation and internal controls, which is an important item to consider in finance. And of course, the fiscal impact of this, I believe this is going to enable us to really tighten up our policies and our processes. However, any fiscal results are unknown over time. So I think I talked to some of this already. The existing collection policy primarily addresses compliance with the Water Shutoff Protection Act. So up through that non-payment and what happens to active water customers. There is a policy gap currently, which is what this policy is going to fill. And the intent of the policy is that this is going to bring us a philosophy that is fair, consistent, non-discriminatory in our collection actions, provides legal remedies and guidance for property liens and other post-delinquency remedies. Write-offs, this is going to guide our accounting and permanent write-off standards, and also defines in a few spots there's a delegation table or matrix in the policy on page 45 and 46. So it does define that authority for the general manager and or their designee and the board. So the board still retains, you'll see a comparison of what will have to come to the board on page 50 and 51. And it also does explain and guide in regard to reporting and records retention and audit and documentation requirements. So our collection activity pathway, we talked a little bit about this in our prior bad debt topic. But we start with our regular bills and account notices. We move into a delinquency status. We readily make payment arrangements with customers to assist them with paying their bills if they're having difficulty. Once they get to a point where shut off for non-payment is no longer an option for us, then we begin looking at lien tools. And we monitor any types of claims we submit claims for tax sale through the county. If we have a lien in place, we also at that final point of the process go through this write-off that we did just in the last topic. We want to also, this is what I think Director Flellen referred to earlier, we want to also ensure that our actions are reasonably proportional to the expected recovery so that we avoid unnecessary expenditure of public resources. So we're not going to spend $100 to go after a penny. That's the idea. So property lien framework, this provides some guidance for staff, which by the way, I should mention that, you know, the bad debt and this collection process is really a joint effort between finance and the customer support administration department. So David and I and his staff work closely with these items. So this is really a framework for how the property lien works and helps to well, actually, this is a good guide for our staff that's actively doing this process, but we're also going to have, in addition to this policy, an SOP that accompanies it with a little more detail for staff to understand how to execute this policy. The SOP is not in here for you, but generally the board approves the high-level policy and then staff implements the SOP beyond that. And that's actually something that is, I believe, designated in this policy that staff has the authority to generate forms and SOPs and various administrative type documents. So bankruptcy, we won't get into that, but there is a whole legal process that we have to follow, and often we do have to consult with legal for certain situations because, believe it or not, they're not all the same. So we do go through that process. And then the accounting write-off versus the permanent write-off, I explained that a little bit earlier. We remove, in the initial write-off, we remove the receivable from the active accounting records, which improves our financial statement accuracy, but does not extinguish debt. And it does not release liens or prevent future recovery as long as we have an active lien or we're within that 4-year time frame. Then once we get to that next level, the permanent write-off comes into play. So each year as we're writing off the new bad debt, we're also looking at the 4-year-old bad debt and permanently writing that off. Here's the delegation of authority. So I touched on that a little bit. This basically allows staff the ability to file the liens, to administer any types of administrative lien releases. So once we receive a payment, we release that lien. And so this just really gives staff the authority to do that. It also gives staff the ability to release liens, discretionary lien releases on accounts. This is very unusual type of situation where the debt can no longer be logically pursued or legally pursued, and it establishes a GM threshold for that, and for one-off permanent write-offs, bankruptcy-related permanent write-offs, and the annual accounting write-offs, which is the permanent part. Sorry, I know that's confusing. So the thresholds are in there, $10,000 per account, and that is something that I did go through with our general manager, Sarah Johnson, before she left. And so this threshold is something that she was in agreement with. However, you know, if it's something that the board's not comfortable with, it's certainly up for discussion. Anything beyond that would come to the board, even, you know, if it's a one-off situation. This really just helps prevent us from having to bring all of these individual circumstances to the board each time. So delegation does not amend board policy or override board reserved actions. And this policy also requires periodic reporting, so annual reporting, just like we did in the last topic, documentation of any discretionary write-offs that are done throughout the year for whatever reason, whether it's for a bankruptcy or other circumstances, and records retention and audit review or audit by management auditors or authorized signers. So these policies will be, of course, available for our auditors to see as well. Okay, finally, recommended action. I said I'd be kind of quick on some of these. I'm going on too long, but all right. So we have a resolution 26-1096 for the collection enforcement liens and bad debt write-off policy. Sorry that's so long, but we had to distinguish that from our other collection policy. So this completes the post-delivery or delinquency framework and balances recovery with fairness and clarifies authority, which is something that we really realized as we were going through this process. You know, we didn't have anything explicitly in place that would give us this. So that is the end of my presentation. I'm very happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Right. Again, I want to make sure that Director Jarlsberg is given first chance for anything she might have.
Yeah, I did have a little thing. I just wanted to note that I read at some point that we're doing these reviews of policy every 5 years in the administrative code. And I wanted to point out that there's several policies that will be looked at over time to update. And this is just one or two. Do we have another one? I guess. But it's every 5 years that is mentioned, and I didn't hear that from you. So I just wanted to make sure we understand that we're in the process of updating the administrative code.
Yes, that's a good point. We are going to put this in the administrative code. We're trying to move in that direction so that more of our policies are captured in one place rather than scattered in different places where they can be lost track of. So we are going to incorporate this into the administrative code, which is the reason for the resolution. And the policy stipulates that it will be reviewed every 5 years, as Director Jarlsberg said.
Yeah. So people may notice that when they look up at the administrative code in the website that it was last updated in 2021. And so we're on the 5-year plan here. Okay.
Are there any other flowing?
You audited every year?
I'm sorry, Sam.
We get audited every year?
We undergo a financial audit every year. That is a requirement of the California State Controller. And we're actually in that process right now. Our audit will be starting on September 8th. So we are preparing for that. And we're essentially at some phase or in some phase of that audit process, 9 months or so out of the year. So yes, we are audited every year.
What kind of a rating or grade did we get in the last audit?
They use strange terminology, I guess, not really layman's terms.
Clean, I think is one of them. Clean.
Clean is a terminology that they have used in the past. They have used terminology like unqualified, which, just sounds, it doesn't make sense to most people. But yes, it's a completely clean, and it's an audit that the auditors profess confidence that everything is in order. So,
and they are independent auditors.
They are independent auditors, yes. Yeah. Third party auditors.
And also, too, this is a 25-page.
Yeah.
29. Correct it on my math. It's remarkably detailed, I thought. And it's thorough, shall we say. and very well done. I was always surprised to go, oh yeah, oh yeah, you know, like the thing with this. So I thought it was very well done.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. That's awesome.
Thank you. Director Fick, do you have any questions?
Not many questions. I remember about a year ago, we were considering hiring a collection agency and you told us that their success rate was 11%, so it wasn't worth it. So
Yeah, it's very, very low. And so we abandoned that idea for the time being. I mean, we can always go back and reconsider that in the future. I think this policy, if I remember correctly, and forgive me because it's been a while since I looked at it in detail now. But I think it refers to a collection agency in here, just in case that ever comes up in the future. So it's in there, that provision is in there if it's needed, but it's not something that we're actively.
That was
right.
best case scenario.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. So Director Fick asked something that I had searched for and you brought it up. So I'm very concerned about the collection agency language being in here because I don't think that went too well last time. It was like a single vendor and, you know, and then Vice President Short looked it up and they had terrible Yelp ratings or whatever it was. Not that I would expect a collection agency to have great Yelp ratings. Something like that. So anyway, I'm very concerned about that language. I didn't see it. Do you happen to know where it is?
Yeah, I'd have to look for it, honestly. I don't remember.
Okay.
It's very small. I don't remember it being prevalent in here, but it's not something that we would automatically begin doing. We would still have to identify and get approval from the board for a vendor if we were going to go in that direction. You know, so that would have to come to the board as well as contract. Let me look and see if I can find it.
Yeah, directorship.
Just to clarify, initially that when the discussion first came up, there was one vendor and the board asked us to go to receive requests for information. So we reviewed, I think 5 different vendors.
Okay. Thanks for that clarification. Okay, well, so while you're looking for that, I just want to say, so you said at the end, you know, this is the best, like fairness defined, fairness and balance, authority with fairness, balancing authority with fairness. And so there's a lot of authority in here. And the fairness part, I think, comes in with the thresholds. And there wasn't, like, for example, there's a lot of, and I understand that I think this is an outstanding report. And I appreciate all the work that was put into it. And I can see it. It's nice and clearly done. But I also recognize a lot of times policies, you know, you don't want to reduce it down to every single possibility and everything like that, you know, it's too exhausting and then it doesn't work. But like on page 30, when it says, when determining whether additional collection activity is warranted, the general manager or designee may consider the amount owed, anticipated recovery, administrative costs, legal costs, likelihood of collection, age of the debt, existence of security, availability of assets, and other relevant circumstances. And I have had personal experience with the district trying to be helpful to people that are struggling. I have seen that myself. But I'm concerned about things that are in policy that doesn't necessarily reflect what may be happening in practice. And so I don't see how right here in that section where that authority balanced with fairness. What's the threshold for fairness?
And what is fairness?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. I don't know that there's a threshold. What it is really return on investment. As far as, you know, what we would be going through here, we don't want to put the district in a position where we would be expending more resources than we would be pursuing. So that, you know, but as far as fairness goes, that's really, in my opinion, consistency. It's being able to apply this process consistently among all customers, and having it in writing, having it documented is the first step in being able to do that. So if we don't have a policy, then it's much harder to apply those processes consistently. So I think that's where the fairness comes in my mind.
Okay, well, thank you. I believe because of that, I think we need some more definitions in this policy, because I think there's too much room for subjective calls being made that I don't understand. And it could be that I'm tired and I've spent a lot of time looking at other stuff and I wasn't able to examine this as closely as I usually do, but it just seems like there's a lot of decisions that are made by the general manager or a designee and that don't seem to be defined very well. And again, understanding that that's the nature of this, but that's my concern is that there is a lack of definition when we try to consider this against fairness. I had another comment. Did you find the?
I didn't. No.
Where it said
It's
anything?
in here. Maybe it was in a prior version. I don't.
Oh, it was in there.
Did you saw that too? Yeah, I didn't find it. I'd have to search, probably word search it, but the word
Okay.
collections is in here.
Right, okay.
So-
Right, so I see, yeah, like on page 41, sometimes I have a little bit of salty language. And because I was upset about the collections, because we have 30% disadvantaged people here. And, you know, what people do now just to even market to you, I can imagine what collection agencies must be doing. And so, you know, again, that salty language, are we hiring some bastards? So, you know what I mean? To come after these people and, torture them or just make it very difficult for them when they're struggling. Oh,
I found collection agencies. It is on page 41.
41, okay.
It's in section 7.04, continued collection. It's the third bullet.
Oh, there it is. Thank you.
Okay, collection agencies, right, that's where, so my notes were right there. So I want to strike that. I just don't think that we have that defined enough. We can come back and put it in if we have a conversation about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Could we maybe have David speak to some of the assistance that we do have for our customers? He reports on it occasionally. It might.
Yeah, just briefly.
The idea that
We have a program called, used to be United Way. It's Inland SoCal, United Way now. It's a program where it initially, when it was enacted, was up to $50 to help with a customer water bill. And then a board a number of years ago doubled it to $100. And 2 years ago, our current board has adjusted it to $300. So there is some parameters that have to be met. The information is on our website that points directly to that program. They can let any customer know what's going to be needed to submit to them, and they'll evaluate that and then make a determination. Secondly, we have the CAP, or the Customer Account Assistance Program. That actually a couple years ago was also revitalized by our current board to be more beneficial to our customers. If customers have a leak and they can prove that it's been fixed, receipts, Home Depot receipt is fine with me. I just don't want the water leaking into the air or down into the dirt. So that application is also on our website. It's a simple web form that customers can submit to us. We'll take the information and documentation. We'll do a calculation. Currently, this program is actually being under review to potentially be more beneficial to more customers within our district. Now you have to have, has to be at your primary residence, and the difference in your water bill has to be $400 from what your bill was at in the same month last year. So its intent is to provide some temporary relief, although we can't guarantee that will lessen any frustration. But that's a tool for us. We do also offer no interest payment arrangements as well.
Director Sloan.
Understand that the funds that we receive from the ratepayers are called public funds, and there are restrictions on how we could dispense those into the public, and we have over time found ways where we can be helpful to customers that are in distress because of a large water bill and that kind of thing. We can't just say, "Oh, we'll send that guy $500 because he's my neighbor" or something. We can't do that kind of stuff. There's no, it all has to be accounted for in a lawful way, that kind of thing. Public funds.
Proposition 218 does not allow for funds to be, or funds from one ratepayer to subsidize another ratepayer essentially. So we have to dip into property tax funds that we happen to be fortunate enough to receive from the county for those types of programs. So I was just going to suggest perhaps maybe an example on that section on, I think it was page 30 that you had noted, the list of whether collection activity is warranted. Maybe an example would be helpful of, because it would be difficult to capture every scenario, but maybe, you know, a few examples that would be a guideline. Essentially.
Oh, you mean adding that to the policy? Yeah. Perhaps. But I do have a couple of questions. One is does this still give the general manager, I think that there was something in our prior policy that said the district can make a decision whether or not to, waive or something like that. There was something in that I seem to remember. Individual some sort of individual circumstances. Case by case. Okay.
Penalties?
A
penalty?
Maybe that's what I'm talking about.
Penalty. There is a provision for a penalty.
Okay.
With if the customer meets certain circumstances, a good payment history and that type of thing, but not overall, no.
And that's not part of this then, penalty.
No.
Okay. So I am, so I know you said something about that this would help and we would see less individual circumstances brought before the board. I heard you say that. Is that right?
Yeah, well, because I think theoretically, a lot of these things that have come up in the past, especially bankruptcies come to mind, those have always been handled internally. But, as I look at it more in depth, I don't really think we have a policy that supports that. So, we're trying to put policy in place that supports the practice that has been ongoing.
Oh, so there have been gaps is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, so because I'm for more transparency regarding individual circumstances as brought before us in the past. So, I get concerned if it looks like we're saying that, we're making things more efficient, but, that leads to less awareness of the customer experience that the board should be concerned with.
I think mostly what we would be dealing with here in terms of the thresholds that are being delegated to the general manager are releases. So mostly it's going to address where those releases can be done. So it's really to the benefit of the customer in that situation to forgive the debt when bankruptcy proceedings have been disclosed to us. So it's not so much about something that is not beneficial to the customer. It's really something that's going to be beneficial, with the exception of filing liens, perhaps. And that internal threshold of $250 is not in here. It could be added to this. It was going to be in the SOP, but that certainly could be added to this as well, a $250 threshold, or wherever we want that to go. That's been the practice. But a lot of this comes back to forgiving debt, so write-offs, and in the case of a bankruptcy, in the case of the fact that the debt has now expired, it's 4 years or older, and so we have no legal means to collect it any longer. It's been extinguished for whatever reason. Courts can do that. So examples like that.
Okay.
Yeah, more of a forgiveness, I think, than pursuing debt.
So, David, Director Fix said that this is a 29-page policy. He said, I believe this should have been a workshop topic, that this is a lot for us to digest at a board meeting. And I would like to go, I'm going to propose a continuance of it. But one thing I wanted to say that's troubling to me, because the board, I don't believe we've ever talked about this, but it's related. And I'm not expecting you to have an answer, but I would be interested to know how often customer service says, this is a board of directors policy. because I've had that reported to me that customer service says that to residents who might be upset or, wanting more information. And they say like, our hands are tied. This is a board of directors policy. And the problem I have with that is in the 5.5 years that I've been here, we've hardly reviewed any policies. And they're talking about sometimes, and I understand that's the nature of it, that it's an old policy. But people that are coming in, they don't know that it's an old policy. They're going to think that that was set by this board. So I just want to flag that for the board members that that's being said. And I don't necessarily think that they should say something else, but it did concern me that that is being said. And it was troubling to me. So I would, because I think that this is very dense and I think there's a lot more conversation and discussion that needs to be had. Director Jarlsberg, did you have anything else?
Well, I was wondering if Director Shook might have information about that being used as a customer service response. I've never heard it myself. I can understand that maybe it is being said, but I don't have any verification of that. I wonder if he does.
Often. That is used often.
Okay.
And it's not used as a cop out, but if someone is an STR owner and they have a leak and they're not eligible for CAP, the only other, and they're not low income, they're not eligible for Inland SoCal United Way. The only other option that we have potentially is the payment arrangement that we have. So once we go through all of that, and this could be a 30-minute conversation or it could be a 5-minute conversation, those are the tools that we have at our disposal. And that's probably just a random example, but that's one where we would say, not necessarily that our hands are tied. I haven't heard that terminology specifically, but that it's a board approved policy, and that they're welcome to come to a board meeting and express their displeasure.
Yeah,
with
it
that.
seems like that would be the thing to say, to come and speak to the board, because we have had people come similar about what you might call a policy. They may not call it a policy, but.
Yes.
All right, so I think that concludes our deliberations about this. I myself would like to motion for this to be continued for a future meeting in consideration of it as a workshop, and perhaps you guys could make some of these changes before we look at it again. So I make that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Again, I'm not sure, because I don't know what it means to postpone it. I mean, are we?
It's a continuation. We would come back at another meeting after they make some
Figure out
edits.
whether it be a workshop or otherwise.
Right, but they would make some of these changes and we'd consider it again, I think, in a workshop.
But could we have the opinion of our financial person to that motion?
Well, I mean, usually it's that's a board action. So I don't understand what you're asking her to tell you. Tell her.
Did she feel this was the conclusion of what her report was, or is she seeing the possibility of opening up again?
Well, I think anything is up for grabs. We can certainly look at it in more detail and consider some other perspectives, make some of the changes that have been suggested. I'm open to that. I'm not sure a workshop could work too. It's a lot of detail for the board to get into. So I'm not sure,
A lot of
if everyone will appreciate that on the board, on the board's part, but I'm open to it. So.
Okay.
All right. So that
I would say I agree then.
All right. So we have 3 ayes and 1 nay. So the motion for continuance on resolution 26-1096 passes. Thank you. Thank you. But it's a beautiful report. So the next topic for board review and consideration is we're talking about amending the rules and regulations, customer guarantee deposit. And that is going to be presented again by Director of Finance Ann Roman.
Thank you again. All right, so this is one of those, actually, this is, I think, good news, maybe more so than some of the other topics. Just get this started and then I can multitasking. This slide, where am I going? Oh my goodness. Yeah. All right. So this is regarding the guarantee deposit that the district requires from customers to establish an account. And this is one of those areas that, you know, this came up in the last topic. This would be part of the rules and regulations, and the rules and regulations really are what staff have to follow and enforce. And, you know, that's where that sort of pointing back to this as a board policy, the rules and regulations are adopted by the board and staff enforces them to the best of our ability. And if there's an issue or a change that needs to be made with the rules and regulations, then we need to bring that back to the board and have that discussion. So in this case, former Vice President Short had requested that we review the customer guarantee deposit. So when a customer establishes service with us, they are required to go through a credit check process. And from that, we determine whether they have yellow or red credit levels. This is per our company that we use for that purpose, or green. And if they have yellow or red, they're required to pay the deposit. If they have green, they're not required to pay the deposit generally. Currently, the deposit is at $408. Now, this is a formula specifically included in our rules and regs, Article 1.11, and the formula is based on the requirement, the legal requirement before the district can turn off, shut off, cut off, whatever we want to call that, a customer for non-payment. So there is a legal period of time that we have to allow a customer and go through a notification process before we can do a shut off. And on page 53 of your agenda packet, you can see in that table, I've tried to illustrate from if we had a new customer that came in on day one, on January 1st, it would take us until day 141 or May 21st until we had a bill that was able to be legally shut off for non-payment after proper notification. So you can see it's quite a long process that we have to go through, especially since SB 998 came into play. So this is why our bad debt is also going up. Our AR balance is going up and our bad debt is going up because this cycle now is so protracted. It allows customers to really incur more bad debt and, or more debt, I should say. So right now, our deposit is based on that period of time, which is about 3 months, times the average water bill per our last rate study, which is 8 units. And so we apply that times 3 months. And that amount of $408 is what we require for an initial deposit. If the customer is shut off for non-payment and needs to reinstate, they would be required to pay 1.5 times deposit, again, based on the fact that we have additional exposure there with customers that are have a tendency to be shut off for non-payment. Now, that reinstatement deposit jumps up to $612. Those deposits are getting, significant as the rates have increased as well. So what we're looking at here is how we can reduce that initial deposit and that reinstatement deposit for customers in a way that doesn't terribly impact our bad debt. So we still have to balance their the bad debt considerations with that initial deposit requirement. Go to a slide here. So customer affordability versus district protection, we have to try to balance that out so that we are reducing the upfront burden on customers without materially increasing our bad debt risk. And what we have, what we're proposing here is that we change that formula from a 3-month period of time times the average bill to a 2.5-month period of time, which would actually reduce the initial deposit from $408 to $340. And I'll put my disclaimer on it that this is based on today's rate. So what I'm proposing is that if the board wishes to adopt this change, that we implement this in January. So at that time, the rates would be subject to change again based on pre-approved rate adjustments. But right as of today, this would mean a $68 savings for customers on that initial upfront deposit that they would have to place with the district based on that 2.5-month formula instead of a 3-month formula. Any questions about that? So far, I know that formula might be a little.
Okay. Director Jarlsberg, you have any questions?
No.
All right, any questions from anybody on the board?
Okay.
Yeah, okay. No, I thank you for doing this. I know it was a lot of work and, all right. I just one thing, she kept mentioning SB, what was it? SB 292. Yeah. I just want to let you know, so that was, a law that was put into place that made it where water districts couldn't cut off people's water, using certain thresholds. And I remember one time long before I worked for the water district, I came in to pay my bill here, and on the customer service desk was a list of cutoffs, and this was in December, and they were going to cut off somebody's water who owed $20. And I remember just being shocked by that at what I thought was the heartlessness of it. Now, again, I don't know all the circumstances around that, but, it's interesting that California had to pass some laws related to this because, there's sometimes issues with this, but I certainly appreciate the district trying to make things easier for people with customer deposits. So public comment?
About that, perhaps I could share a personal experience.
Please come to Mike, please.
My name is John Scully. I'm here tonight actually to appeal
Wait a second. Can we wait until we get because you're at item 7E and make sure that it's 7E, all right?
Certainly.
Okay. Sure. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So, yes.
I have just a quick item I wanted to share. So the analysis that we did here indicates that this proposed change would result in approximately $836 in additional, estimated additional annual increase in bad debt. So again, finding the balance between providing most customers an advantage up front and perhaps incurring slightly more bad debt, but a very small marginal amount. So that was just an important factor that I wanted to check.
All right, thank you. So I'm entertaining a motion to adopt Resolution 26-1097.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay, let the record reflect that Resolution 26-1097 has been approved and adopted. Next, the board will discuss and provide direction on a customer's appeal of rules and regulations. That's R&R. Articles 1.2 residential water service, 1.3 medical hardship, 1.9.1 low income customers. And this is going to be presented by the Director of Administration, David Shook. Please proceed.
Thank you, President Doolittle, and good evening, board, staff, and members of the community. Staff recommend the board uphold the district's rules and regulations as applied to deny the requested variance. Former customer has appealed the district's determination regarding water service at this property, requesting review based on his prior customer status, a pending quiet title action, medical hardship, low income status, and other circumstances. The applicant characterizes the request as reinstatement of his former account rather than establishment of new service. Under Article 1 of the district's rules and regulations, establishment of tenant water service requires property owner or authorized property manager approval, a completed application, and payment of applicable fees and deposits. Staff reports that the applicant has neither demonstrated ownership of the property nor provided the required owner request for tenant water service. These requirements also preserve the district's ability to recover unpaid charges through remedies associated with the property or property owner. The applicant also cites SB 998, the Water Shutoff Protection Act. Staff's position is that SB 998 governs discontinuation of existing residential service for non-payment rather than applications to establish new service, and therefore does not apply to the current request. The report notes that the applicant previously filed 2 complaints with the State Water Resources Control Board regarding SB 998 compliance, and that the district's decision was upheld in both instances. The matter before the board is therefore whether the district properly applied its rules and regulations, and if so, whether the applicant's circumstances provide sufficient grounds for a variance. Staff recommends denial of the variance and affirmation of the district's application rules and regulations, and allowing this variance request could potentially set a precedent.
All right, so thank you. I believe there is a member of the public who would like to make a public comment, which I think we should have right now to inform, please come up to inform board discussion and understanding.
My name is John Scully. I'm actually the customer that initiated the appeal. My family and I have been without water for over 2 years now. We lived in our home for 6 years unopposed. But tonight, the issue related tonight, and I do apologize if I'm a little bit out of context and not really well prepared here. I was given less than 24 hours notice to prepare for this, and I thought that was a little bit unfair. But given tonight's topic, it kind of seems understandable why they would want to work me into this board of directors meeting tonight. I wasn't looking to request a variance. I was applying for a new service account in general. It's not really so much an appeal of a prior shutoff either. It's an independent application for new tenant water service under the California Health and Safety Code 116916 or SB 998. It explicitly grants residential occupants the statutory right to establish direct water service in their own name when an account owner is delinquent, absent, or non-responsive. State statutory preemption of district rules essentially says that the district relies on Article 1 of JBWD rules and regulations that requires an owner request for tenant water service, and conditioning the account set up upon paying prior property balances is legally unenforceable. Under Section 11, under Article 11, Section 7 of the California Constitution, local special district rules are preempted when they conflict with state statutes. Essentially, JBWD cannot enforce an internal owner consent policy to defeat a tenant's statutory right to establish service under 116916. We have maintained continuous physical residency at my address on Adobe Drive for over 6 years. We stand ready to satisfy any standard new customer requirements, including establishing an account directly and paying the district's standard account new setup deposit. We have a certified medical necessity, and I have package here for everybody. It has the certified medical necessity, a letter from the physician confirming that running water is a critical health necessity for residents at this address. Under state law and basic habitability mandates, refusing or denying essential water service to an occupied residence with a certified medical need creates an immediate health and safety risk. Procedural noncompliance under SB 998. The district fails to maintain and publish its complete SB 998 discontinuation of residential water service policy in all state mandated languages on the website. So there's really a lot of issues with how the district handles SB 998. And essentially, I've been treated very inhuman by the district, and like I said, we've been without water for over 2 years. I've tried everything I can to persuade the district to, to work with me on it. We were shut off for a discrepancy of, I believe, $197. And we actually paid $350 towards that, towards the balance, and that was returned to us by the district. We've made good faith efforts to pay our bills. It's not an issue of, paying the bill or paying, our fair share. That's never been an issue. Right now, it costs me $6 to flush my toilet every time I want to flush my toilet. So it's not an issue of paying the bill. It was more an issue of the district refusing our good faith payments. So that's why I would like to, formally apply for a new service account and let's go forward and, put this behind us.
Right. So I think, thank you. There's going to be board discussion about this, and council, I'm allowed to ask Mr. Scully some questions, right? About what he said and what I understand.
Yes, it's an agendized item.
Okay. I just double checking, wanted to make sure everybody understood that. So I'm sorry that you've had a hardship, and I appreciate you being here. I did a little research about this beforehand because I was wondering about what variance meant. And what I understand from staff is that that right now you're required to provide proof of ownership or an owner request for tenant water service per our rules and regulations, and that the original prior service, which was terminated in 2024, was established under false pretenses that you were the owner of the property.
Okay. So essentially, based upon what I understand of the state law as it was enacted, is that it supersedes district policies. So state law is trumps district policies. So the policy of requiring an owner authorization is actually against the statutes as they were written. So I do believe that needs to be looked over and considered as well. Like I said, I've lived in my home for 6 years unopposed by any owner. It's a situation of an absentee owner. We are involved in a quiet title action where we are going to we're basically presenting our case to become the title holders of the property. The owner disappeared in 2018, and she has been unresponsive. We haven't been able to contact her, find her, or communicate with her.
Okay, thank you. I think that helps them provide a little more context. Are there some questions from anybody on the board?
It would be a long history, I suppose, but do you currently, you're back and forth with ownership of the house, correct?
Well, no, we're not back and forth. I mean, we've lived there for 6 years, completely unopposed. We have never had any contact whatsoever with the owner. She disappeared in 2018, and
it's been paying the property taxes.
We have been paying the property taxes. And I have documentation of that as well. We paid. We pulled the property out of delinquency. We paid the 5 years of back taxes, and we paid 2 years of current taxes. And we are slightly behind with taxes currently, but once again, that's because it cost me $6 to flush my toilet every time I need to do that. So we are working on that, but we have paid the taxes.
So I would like to request council, please, to explain a little bit about the Water Resources Control Board and some other history here, please.
I don't know. What I can tell you is that there's still a mixture of issues here being discussed. You do have the Water Shutoff Act, the SB 998 most commonly. That deals with discontinuation of residential water service. So that applied 2 years ago when this property went through the process of having a repayment agreement. It was not met. The agreement failed and service was discontinued. That's the SB 998 restrictions. It does have language in those statutes for that process at that time that allow tenants to take over water service when owners don't make payments, so that tenants can continue to continue their water service and they're not liable for the owner's debt in that particular instance. But that's the SB 998 issue. That's not the issue here. Here, the issue is service has been disconnected for a period of 2 years. Any time for appeal, that process is done. It's been appealed to the State Water Resources Control Board. It was denied, so that part is over. We're now dealing with a new request for new service. And my understanding is that, and from what I saw, the only evidence of ownership was the complaint in adverse possession, which when that results in a judgment, that will be evidence of ownership of the property. But what was provided to us was the complaint, and I did do some checking for the district just to see if there had been a judgment entered in that case to see if we could find that independently. And I did not see it. Certainly, if there's been a judgment, the district could receive that, and that may be a factor in future considerations. But at this time, there was no evidence presented to the district of ownership of the property as required by your administrative code. And your administrative code for new service connections is not affected by SB 998 or the Water Shutoff Act. The Water Shutoff Act impacts existing residential service, not new service connections.
Any questions from anybody on the board?
I'm kind of curious about the property tax bill, and name is on it.
It's under the record owner, Grace Budka. I do, like I said, I have receipts of our property tax payments. If you'd like to see those.
There is a person who owns this property, but who then is paying the taxes?
I'm paying the taxes, my wife and I.
And so those revenues or those monies were accepted by the county as a payment on the tax.
Yes, that's correct. And we have receipts showing all of that.
They just want their money. No matter who pays it, no matter who pays.
We're happy to pay the money. You know, we're definitely happy to do that. And that just hasn't been the issue here. It's been the the water district accepting our money.
Have you been receiving in the past? Because you've been there for what, 6 years?
6 years.
Have you been
7?
Have you been receiving water bills from the district in the past, and have you paid them?
We have paid them. We fell behind with the payment program that we were on. We had I believe $900 that we had fallen behind. We made payments on 11 out of the 12 months of that payment plan, not always on time, but 11 of the 12 months were paid. And the past due account balance at the time of shutoff was the minimum payment on the past due account balance at the time of shutoff was $197. We made a payment of $350, which exceeded the minimum payment due, and that was returned to us on day 60 of the 60-day late policy. So my issue with that was that SB 998 mandates that the district. It seems like a little bit of a gray area, but to me, I understand that to mean that they expect the district to work with customers who are in a situation like that. And while the district has been helpful with the payment plan, and Mr. Shook has been in communication with us. I believe that a little bit more consideration could have been made with, some wiggle room. Like, on day 60, we were willing to pay $350, which exceeded the minimum payment due, and they were still unwilling to accept our money. And what that does for anybody that's unfamiliar, what that does to a customer in a low income situation, if their service is disconnected, they have to go through the whole process of paying another security deposit. And it really, it's a significant financial undertaking. So something like that, it really makes it very difficult for a low income customer to, reestablish service and get things back on track.
So let me understand. So you had service, then there was Director Shook. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Just to clarify, Mr. Scully mentioned that the district returned the funds. That's not our staff returning a payment. That's a Paymentus record that was attempted, that was returned by Paymentus.
Oh, no, that was returned by you, Mr. Shook. We had email communication regarding that, where you asked me if you wanted me to apply that towards our new deposit, or if you wanted to just send it back to us. And I didn't have the money for the deposit, so I said just return the money to me then, because if I can't afford the deposit, then what good is it going to do?
Okay, so it seems like to me, just looking at this right now, you're in a place where you don't have water service and you can't start water service because you don't own the house. Is that right?
Right.
Yes.
Right. Okay, so what in my 5.5 years here,
President Doolittle?
Oh, I'm sorry, Director Jarlsberg, go ahead.
I just had some clarifying questions for him, and then I think then I just wanted to get him out there a little bit. Can you tell us your address that you're looking for the water to be reinstated?
Yes, ma'am. It's 61639 Adobe Drive, Joshua Tree, California, 92252. We're just right up the street here.
Oh, okay. Because I think you said it very quickly and I missed it. Also, how long do you think the quiet title action will be? You said it's pending, and apparently it's fairly important to be resolved in this issue.
Our next hearing date with the San Bernardino County Civil Courts is on November the 13th of this year. And that's for a trial setting conference. And at that point, we'll present where we're at that point to the judge, and they'll make a decision on how to proceed.
Okay, so you still have a few months working on that.
Yes.
Also, I wondered, how have you been getting the water you had for the 2 years?
For a little while, we were getting it from a neighbor of ours who was helping us out. And as those types of relationships go, that went south. We were paying her bill and our bill for quite some time. And then we were hauling water from somebody across the street. And you probably see me at the gas station across the street. I haul 5-gallon jugs of water and 1-gallon jugs of water. And it's just been a really, really difficult experience for the past 2 years.
Well, I gathered you had to have water from someplace, so I just was curious. And then how many people are actually in your household?
It's my wife and I and our dog.
Okay. The dog qualifies, drinks water too, I get it.
More than I do.
Do you water anything outdoors?
Not now. We used to have a really nice garden, and we have a really nice yard too, but all of our plants have died, and it's the property has really, I mean, we have one of the nicest properties, I believe, on our street, and we worked really hard to bring this property back to life and add some life to the neighborhood. And when this happened, it really started to not only deteriorate our spirit and our drive to really do things like that, and it just the property has started to. It's starting to fall apart. You can't clean things. We have dishes piled up on our deck from the last 2 years because we can't wash our dishes, and things like that. Just it creates a health hazard for our neighbors and for us. Having a medical disability, it's just not a very good situation. And like I said, we're not opposed to paying our fair share. We're happy to do that. And right now, we pay a lot more than any of our other customers, and even as customers of the Joshua Basin Water District, with all of the fees and late payments and everything like that. I went through our accounting of the past balances and past bills. We were paying 3 times more than the average customer in Joshua Basin Water District, just because of our financial situation and the fees that have been placed on our account as a result of that. So the issue is not paying our fair share. We're happy to do that. Just asking for an account so we can. We'd like to have water service.
Okay, a couple other things. You say that you have a medical certification. Did we ever have a copy of that?
Yes, ma'am. I included that in the packet for the board, and it was that we actually were put on the payment plan initially for an SB 998 medical exception, so that they do have record of that in the office as well.
Okay, and why haven't you moved?
Because this is my home. That's where we live.
It's been a lot of issues while you were there. It seems like you might have considered moving someplace else where you knew the owner, you were a legal tenant, and you could turn a tap on.
Well, we lived there for several years before we didn't have water service, and this is where we live. This is our home. We've made a life here, and financially, it's not feasible to move. We don't have the financial resources just to make that decision and get up and move.
Okay, I just wondered about your reasoning. I know it's a big deal to move, but I would balance the issues that you've had for years and at least be looking for something. I don't know.
Well, if we were to do that, I believe that would place an undue burden on the public, because the only way that we would be able to do that would be to go on public benefits and assistance, and that's not something that I want to do. I work hard. I'm very happy to pay my fair share and pay my taxes and pay my bills, and I do not I don't want to go on any type of public assistance and go that route. So.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Director Fick.
Have you ever personally visited the landlord, 6, 7 years ago?
No, she has been an absentee landlord the entire time. This individual who owns the property, the situation was that she was an attorney here in San Bernardino County. She was a family law lawyer, and she fell into some hard times, I believe, and she ended up developing some problems with alcohol. She got 2 DUIs in the same month. And then within the year, she ripped off one of her clients for about $170,000 in the country.
I don't think we need that kind of history about this person. So
it's all public record. It's all.
right. But if we focus on what we have right here before us, not necessarily what Mr. Scully's alternatives are or anything like that. It's a little. I would just like to look at what the recommended action by staff is and see if anybody here on the board would like to make a motion related to that or any motion about anything related to this, please. So, Director Fick, would you like to make a motion regarding what's happening here, or Director Flowen or Director Jarlsberg? Because I don't want to be the one, trying to take over the meeting and do it myself.
I would like to hear staff, would you mention?
You would like,
I missed that, what she said.
Dr. Jarlsberg, what was that?
Well, you mentioned that you thought you'd like to hear from a staff opinion on this.
Well, what I said is the recommended action from staff is to uphold the district's rules and regulations as applied and deny the requested variance. So that's what I was saying. We did get a staff report. It's written right here. And then Director of Administration, David Shook, he did present the staff report. So I think right now we have heard Mr. Scully's request to the board. And so I'm saying, is there any kind of a motion that anybody from the board would like to make?
This is one of those hard things, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, you got something?
I was going to make a motion that we uphold the district's rules and regulations as applies and deny the requested variance.
I second that. All in favor, say aye.
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 Can you remain
Wait,
here?
can we just have one more person? Aye. Okay, so all 4 ayes, the motion carries.
Can you remain here until the end of the meeting, please?
Certainly.
Thank you. All right, thank you. So moving on to our last item on the board's action calendar. We've got a few things after that with director's reports, but the last one is the board member vacancy presentation and discussion. Legal counsel Jeff Hoskinson, please proceed.
Absolutely. I have a very rudimentary PowerPoint that I'll share just so you have a visual to look at. Just give me one moment to start that for you. Okay, like I said, hopefully you can see it. Very rudimentary. There's not a lot of time spent on decorating this one, but so what you have before you is a decision to make on a board vacancy. As you know, Vice President Thomas Short resigned on August 6th, 2026. That was a Division 1 seat that's now vacant because of the resignation per Government Code Section 1170C. The immediate deadline that we dealt with, and actually I've worked with staff, and I think if it didn't go out today, it's going out tomorrow, but we do have to provide notice to San Bernardino County Register of Voters just of the resignation and the vacancy. So that's a ministerial act that staff will handle. The decision before the board, and you're not taking these actions today, but you'll give us direction in terms of which way you want to go so that we can properly plan and agendize it for you in subsequent meetings. But you can either appoint a successor to serve the balance of the current term. As a reminder, that by the time you get to appointment is going to be about 2 months. So it is only a little bit of time left on that term. You can call for a special election, which oftentimes has various long lead times and added costs. But in this particular case, the seat is already up for election and scheduled for the November 2026 general election, as you know. So it already is scheduled for an election regardless. So if you were to decide to call for an election, it would just be merged and consolidated into that already scheduled election. We'd bring a resolution back to you just to confirm that, send it to the county that you decided to call for an election, and it will be filled through that process. So those are the two options that you have up front. And then obviously you can take no action and allow the County Board of Supervisors to act to appoint an individual, or they can call technically for election. Although I think by the time their deadline comes around to call for an election, they could do it earlier than their deadline, but their deadline I think is November 2nd, which would be the day before the election. So not really a lot here. It's a very, very, very short window on anything. Your time to take action is by October 5th. You have 60 days from the date of the resignation. So you have until October 5th to do something. And option one, again, is board appointment. So you can appoint someone to fill the remaining roughly 2+ months potentially of that position. We would have to, if you decide you want to appoint someone, we do have to provide at least 15 days notice with a notice of vacancy that's posted in 3 conspicuous locations, just letting the public know that we're going to fill the position by appointment. Based on the timing, if you were to decide that tonight, that would mean you're looking at potentially an appointment either at the September 16th regular meeting, or you could schedule a special meeting anytime after September 5th. Your next scheduled meeting is September 3rd, I believe. 2 weeks from today. It's 14 days, which wouldn't be enough time. That's the key part. So it would be a special meeting after that date. An appointee must be registered voter in the district, in District 1, in the district, and specifically in Division 1, because Director Short came from the Division 1 seat. They would serve again the remainder of that unexpired term. Obviously, we know that's pretty short. In terms of the process of appointment, you control that entirely. The statutes do not tell you how to do it. As many of you may recall in the past, you've gone through a process where you took applications and did interviews at special and regular meetings to find a candidate. I know in one instance you did just call for an election because you were not this close, but you were close to the general election where it just rolled in, and then the voters decided on how to fill that position. So you kind of have those two precedents. But in this case, you are in somewhat of a unique situation because here you do have a sole candidate that is, unless someone's aware of something that I am not. I know it was the unofficial list of candidates that I saw on the San Bernardino County Register of Voters site. So obviously something could change. But in that list, you have one candidate for the spot for the November 2026 election. Assuming that holds, which as far as I can tell it is, that means there'll be no election. That person will be appointed by the County Board of Supervisors to take office in December 2026. So they will be appointed by the county without election because they are the only candidate. So you could decide if you want to appoint someone to follow your prior processes. You could also decide just to appoint the person who's already going to be appointed to the position in December at an earlier date, which would be September 16th or sometime between September 16th and October 5th. Unless you have a special meeting. So that's option one, to appoint somebody and decide the process that you want to take. Option 2 and 3, again, special election, you have to call by October 5th. And in this case, it would just roll into the November 3rd, 2026 election. And then that seat will be filled in December 2026. So the practical effect of calling an election is that seat would just remain vacant until the candidate takes office in December. And then, of course, you could just do nothing and punt to the County Board of Supervisors, who would have between October 5th and November, I guess that would be the 4th. So I think that's after the election to actually take their action to appoint or call an election. So the key timelines, resignation was August 6th. We've provided notice to the registrar or in the process of doing that. And then you just have until October 5th to either appoint someone or call for an election. November 3rd is the scheduled election date, and December 4th approximately is when the new term and new candidate takes office already. So it's basically up to you to decide if you want to appoint somebody now or you want to let the election fill the seat. And that is all I have in my presentation.
Thank you, board members.
Did anybody listen to the news this morning on the local radio station?
President Doolittle.
I've started, so let me go.
Okay.
There was some sort of a report where there were, for the next election, I don't know, I guess it's the council or somebody over in Yucca, substantially, because there could be no other candidates, you only had one for each district. They moved the candidates from the ballot, and in so doing, not having participated in the election, they saved several $1,000s.
They saved $30,000.
Say again, please.
It was $30,000.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was 3 or 30, so I'd like a bit. That's a substantial amount of money, and as far as I know, there's only one candidate for each of the two districts. And so if
Divisions.
Yeah, thank you. That's a better term. So I was wondering if there was some way we could look into that, and the board would appoint the two existing candidates who will be on the board anyway, and avoid the cost of.
I can answer that if you'd like.
Please.
So those are two separate processes. Obviously, so the election, my understanding is you will not incur any costs because you are not going to have an election for either seat, because you have one candidate for each seat. So what will happen is there's not going to be an election for those two seats. By statute, the County Board of Supervisors, and they're the only ones with the power for the next 4-year term, but the County Board of Supervisors by statute has to appoint the one candidate, which they will do in November. So effective in December. So that will happen. And I don't think you incur no election charges because you don't have anything on the ballot, because there's only one candidate in both. And by statute, it doesn't go on the ballot. This would be separate. You can appoint somebody to take that seat earlier for a Division I seat, since that is vacant, or not. So I don't know if that helps, but they're kind of two separate processes, and your appointment won't affect what happens in December.
Director Jarlsberg.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that I was unopposed my first candidacy, and I was appointed and started in December. Actually was oriented before December. But I also wanted to point out in the local High Desert Star paper on August 12th, they had an article about the elections of local entities that had candidates, and most of them are unopposed, obviously, as is normal for small communities. But they listed in the paper under Joshua Basin Water District Board, Jane Spider Falk was the only candidate for Division I, and incumbent David Fick the only candidate for Division II. Both will be appointed. That's what they said in the article. Is that accurate?
You're asking.
Council, could you please answer that question?
Yes, that's accurate. That's the statute with one candidate. The statute directs the Board of Supervisors to appoint those individuals, and there is no election.
I have a feeling that we were aware that Thomas Short had applied to be on the ballot and then withdrew that application legally from the county register of voters. And I have a feeling that Jane Falk had applied for it also, but as a result of him pulling out, she became the only candidate. So I don't know if she's communicated with anybody on the board or staff. But I just wanted to mention that she has already been identified in the local paper.
All right, anything else from you, Director Jarlsberg?
No, except I recommend appointment, obviously.
Okay, Director Fick?
Well, I am running. I have no opposition in my Division 2. And I relish the appointment by the Board of Supervisors of me being on this board. And I'll get $150 back for my candidate statement. And I'm leaning towards appointment because, but my question would be, if we choose to do appointment, do we just say we're going to appoint somebody and then have an open field and advertising and all that? Or can we just appoint the person who is going to be our director in December?
That is entirely up to the board. The process is not dictated by statute. You can just appoint somebody, which obviously I can't say that it would make logical sense to appoint to someone who's going to take that seat in 2 months anyway. Or you could go through the process of applications and interviews if you wanted, but that's entirely a board decision.
Anything else, Director Fick?
Well, for the sake of expediency, I'm leaning towards making a motion of appointing Jane Spider.
Well, you can't do that.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do that in another meeting.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
Director Flowen, did you have one?
Well, yeah, we would, I'd like to make sure that, well, we know you are, but we have to know that this Jane 2 is available now too.
Right. Well, we can ask her, I guess.
Saving the ratepayers $30,000 by removing those two names from the ballot and appointing those two people to the next 2 division terms would be fiscally responsible, I would think.
Well,
because they're going to be on the board anyway.
We're on the board. That's not going to be any cost. Our lawyer told us it wouldn't be any cost for us to have the election go forward or whatever. There's not going to be any cost like Yucca Valley. Yucca Valley it's
different.
I thought maybe it could because it's a city, so I wasn't sure.
I think it's a printing.
I thought it was worth talking about anyway.
I see it. We have a question from a member of the public online. John? Your mic.
Hello. Yes, I had a question. When does you said he resigned, Mr. Short resigned on August 6th, the day after this board meeting? So when was the public notified, or who has to be notified of that resignation?
Public on the 12th.
My understanding is like someone has to be notified other than his,
That's
when the 60 days start.
Yeah, that's a good question because I was going to ask, I maybe heard about it around August 10th and it was hearsay, but I never got any official notice. And we're talking about him resigning from the ballot, but he resigned from the board. So does the date start when he resigned from the board, and what date was that? Because we were never officially told.
It's the date he resigns, not the date that you learn about it. It's August 6th is the date that he resigned. I think it was an email to General Manager Johnson, who was on vacation. So I believe August 10th is when I heard about it as well, but that's when probably she saw the email.
Okay, so that's when he resigned from the board and the ballot. Yeah. Okay, some reason.
Well, I don't know about the ballot. That was entirely his business. I don't know when that happened, but August 6th is when he notified the district that he was resigning. So that is the effective date of the resignation, and that starts the 60-day clock, which would be October 5th. And as far as other notifications, we have to, within 15 days, notify the register of voters. Obviously, the board was then notified, and it's on the agenda tonight. So that's the process that's involved. There's not really, beyond the public agenda component, there's not a public notification requirement beyond that.
Okay, so the board didn't have to be officially notified, is what you're saying.
You obviously did, so we could have this discussion, but yes, it didn't, that notification does not trigger the date of his resignation.
Oh, and so the notification was the agenda, because I never, got it officially. It was just hearsay. So.
Yeah, I can't speak to what you received. I don't know, but August 6th was the date of the email that I saw on August 10th, I believe, as well.
Okay, thank you. So I would like to know, I see, Dr. Jarlsberg, I'll get you in a second.
One quick thing, and because we were told that we would probably have, or that we could advertise an opening And if somebody, I was just thinking, what if somebody wanted to be vetted, came and said they want to, try to get appointed, how do we deal with that if somebody else just walks in wanting to be appointed?
You have entire discretion, as we have to give a notice. So if you decide to appoint somebody, we do have to provide 15 days notice of your decision to appoint someone. And we don't even have to say the date, because I don't know if we'll know the date when we provide the notice, but we have to provide the 15 days notice that you've decided to appoint someone to the position. But how you do that is entirely up to you. You are allowed to pick an individual without a selective process. You're allowed, as you did before, you went through the resume and application process. In this case, obviously you have a candidate who is going to be appointed to the position no matter what you do in December. So I think you have a logical basis to, if you decide to do that, appoint that person. So if they're interested, to take the position early, so you don't have to train multiple board members. Otherwise, you can appoint somebody else, but they will only serve until December, because there's no one else.
That's it.
They will not serve any longer than the remaining term of Director Short. So you would have somebody, you'd get up to speed, and then they would be off the board until they decided to run perhaps in 4 years.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Director Jarlsberg. So I was going to ask, so what I understand is that this could not be considered due to some sort of timelines until September 16th or October 7th, an appointment of someone. And then we want to go ahead and do that because we have a 60-day time limit to do that. And if we don't do it within 60 days, then it becomes county then has the powers to appoint someone. And he's saying that we have several different ways to do that, but evidently we're not going to discuss this until September 16th or October 7th, correct?
You are deciding tonight, do you want to appoint someone, or do you want to call for an election? If you decide you want to call for an election, we can always schedule a special meeting to make these decisions. You could schedule a special meeting tomorrow, or I guess it wouldn't be tomorrow, it'd be a little late, but you could do it Friday. To call for an election if you wanted, or we'd schedule it for September 2nd or 16th. I don't think there would be no reason to rush the process if you were calling for an election, because all that is going to do is consolidate with the election that's already being held in November. So it will be a non-action, and that's not going to be held because there's only one candidate. So it really will just go to nothing and just default to what's going to happen in November by statute already. If you decide you want to appoint someone, we have to notify the public. The board has decided to appoint someone to the position. That must go out for at least 15 days. So we would get that posted tomorrow. And then you could either bring it back to the September, I believe it is 16th.
16th.
Regular meeting to make the appointment, or you could schedule a special meeting at any point after, I believe it's after the 4th of September. Obviously that's Labor Day weekend, so I don't know when you're going to identify a special meeting there, but you could schedule a special meeting to make the appointment earlier, or you could just say you'll do it at the September 16th meeting. And that will be an item on your agenda to consider appointment.
Okay, so what I understand is that, I think we've heard a couple of people say they want appointment. I mean, we can definitely discuss that some more, because that then triggers that the staff has to post a notice of vacancy.
Correct.
Within 15 days, or it's
it has to be posted for 15 days before you take any action. So we would post that tomorrow.
Okay, so is that true that staff would have time to post that tomorrow?
It's pretty simple.
May I?
Yeah.
3 conspicuous places that are official is difficult. So we have the board out here and the library, but the post office doesn't allow posting anymore. Is an online option considered conspicuous?
I would have to review that for you and see if that qualified, but I can work with you to figure out a place to post it.
All right, but you think you can do it tomorrow? It's pretty soon. Okay, just based upon what we were talking about as far as workload, that's why I felt like I needed to ask that. Okay, so I'm not quite sure what we're saying here, but it looks like we need to have a motion to agree that we want to appoint someone to take the seat until the San Bernardino County election in November is concluded. And then that candidate who would be, because they're not running against anyone, they are appointed by the county supervisors to take the seat. And then they would occupy the seat in December, at our December meeting. So our appointment would be for somebody to come on in mid-September sometime and go until the beginning of December when Spider would take her seat.
And I will correct myself. Director Fick started to make a motion just to appoint her. You can't appoint her tonight, but you certainly can decide the process that you're going to use. And if you want to just indicate that you're going to consider to appoint the candidate for the office, Jane Falk at the September 16th meeting, we can give notice of that. So you can decide that's what you want to consider. You just can't actually to make the appointment until we've provided the notice and you've had the meeting. So
okay, so is there a motion to agree that we want to consider appointment of someone to take former Director Short's seat? And to be discussed at our next meeting or upcoming meeting?
yes, it would be September 16th because of the 15 days.
September 16th, to be discussed at September 16th.
I'll make the motion.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Hey, great. Thank you for getting us through that. All right. So next up are the director reports and comments from the board. So Director Fick, I know you're going to talk about something some people in the room are interested in.
Yeah.
It's been a long meeting.
Free country. BIA. To report briefly, I went to the last Friday's BIA meeting.
What's BIA, please?
Building Industry Association. And this was the 20th BIA, pretty much special districts involved too, but BIA is, this is the 20th event, and it was started by Mojave Water Agency wanting to have Mojave Water Agency is a wholesaler for water, and they have a lot of little water districts under them like us. And they wanted to have interaction with the building industry. So they started this 20 years ago. It's called the BIASC, which is Southern California, and that's what happens. So Friday, it was about 300 people there. And oddly enough, we had Susan Kennedy, President, CEO, Cadiz behind me by 15 feet, just a coincidental thing. I'll leave that one. We also had the ASB CSDA dinner, and that was Rojas, a lobbyist group, doing the presentation. And the lady, Nicole Bailey, was a former employee of Joshua Tree Water District 2005, which was 21 years ago. So she was doing PR work back then. So she got to know us, and there currently are lobbyists for federal cases and stuff. I'll keep that short. Okay, to the Lovemore, I've been approached by JTVN, Joshua Tree Village Neighbors, and they wanted us to have a comment letter tonight. And they were told our meeting was going to go long, which it has. It's 3 hours. You people have sat through this. It works wondrously, and you're learning more about how a water district works than most people. On the Lovemore situation, I requested about 2 months ago, the status of the Lovemore Ranch project and its application through our water district. And our general manager at the time said she would do a report for us. That was 2 months ago. And that was about June or so when the court case was in hot action. And I haven't seen a report since. And so comes the question, being that there is a deadline, supposed deadline with the Planning Commission. I've been at this for 30 years. I know how planning commissions work. Planning commissions and their staff have a deadline, but you can put in comments after the deadline that the staff gives you up until a day before the hearing, the Planning Commission hearing. So although there is a deadline for September 3rd for comments to the Lovemore, the reissuing of the initial report, which I briefly saw, they just crossed on the old report, they just crossed out the dates and added a new date on it. So they hardly updated the initial report at all. So I have things to look at it. regarding that, but I want to find out from our water district now, very soon, what is the status of the Lovemore Ranch project in its application to Joshua Tree Water District? That should be public information. And we're wanting to have a comment letter possibly by September 2nd. And if that's required, well, it's not absolutely required, but if we want to put that on the agenda, we have to have information as to actual status of the Lovemore Ranch project before we can make the comments. So my question is, it'd be to the pro tem general manager, is if we can have something by middle of next week, a assembly of the information regarding the Lovemore Ranch project, so that I can have a informed comment on it.
You're still in plan check. We just received a revised water study that's been submitted to the engineer, the district engineer, West Coast Sullivan.
From their engineer to our engineer.
From their engineer to our engineer. And we're still waiting an outstanding wastewater package treatment plant study from them as well. And then that will all be packaged and brought to the board once those are, or they could be brought separately. That's another possibility, that the water study could be brought before the wastewater package treatment plant, because I think that's going to take longer. I'm not sure about the letter. Are you referring to the district writing letter?
They are wanting it. I don't know.
The board. It's the board.
Will give a letter or not, but we got to find out what's going on. And I was sort of, I can't say promised, but I was told that a report would be coming to me a month ago. The discussion was 2.5 months ago. So it was during the court. I was in the courtroom when this all happened, as far as Victorville and all.
Yeah.
So, and I'm close to this project because I'm also a board member of MBCA, and MBCA did the appeal, and I was very involved in the appeal. So I'm sort of up to speed, except for what the water district is doing.
So, yeah, I mean, I can give a brief report on that, but basically what I just told you is what I know. They're still going.
I do think you want to be careful. This isn't an agendized item, so I do think you want to be too much. You can always be agendized for a future agenda item if you'd like it to be.
We'll probably agendize first.
So just to try to summarize, or just, I'm understanding that you want some sort of a report, you'd like to have it next week. And then
it doesn't necessarily have to be a report, just the status.
Okay. And then
between Joshua Tree Water District and the Lovemore Ranch.
And then the next meeting, you want consideration of this comment letter? Is that what you're saying?
Can do it.
So that would be an agenda item?
Yep.
Are you requesting an agenda item? Okay.
And I have to do it in written form 9 days before. So that's either tomorrow or the 24th.
Okay, so I guess that's a heads up that he's going to be making an agenda item request per policy.
But I am aware that the planning department always wants a deadline, and you can always put in comments within a day before the planning commission hearing.
President.
Oh, well, just 1 second. Let me just make sure he's done with his director's report. Are you done with your director's report? All right, Director Dorlsberg, please give us your director's report.
Well, I also wanted to comment on the Lovemore before I mentioned the meetings I attended. My understanding was that we were not going to be able to put it on the agenda because there really hasn't been anything finalized between them and us as Director, the finance director just said. It's really an inquiry letter. And I recall a month ago, the general manager mentioned it because I asked if there was anything new. And she said it was just this inquiry letter, that the only new thing is that the engineers are in touch with each other, but nothing's happened. And the main issue is really between the water, is the water, the thing we were just talking about, the wastewater treatment is the main water issue, as well as obviously infrastructure for water and source for water if they're need more water than we have available. And also my understanding is that we were not really at this point able to write a letter on behalf of the board or the staff or the district, but we could write a letter, an opinion letter, as individuals. And the woman that spoke earlier that's been in communication, and I'm spacing on her name right now, I'm sorry, has a checklist that we could use as a format or kind of a template for a letter opposing this project. And there was another step as far as CEQA apparently bypassed also by the planning department. So, I mean, it's still kind of a mess, but we can write a letter as individuals based on this kind of format that was given to us. I was going to try to send that format to the individual board members so that they could use it to kind of write their letter to the county. And I said, that's about all I can do right now because of obviously we're not going to be able to put, I mean, I don't think we can put it on the agenda for the next board meeting, which is like one day before the deadline for these letters. So something needs to be done before that meeting from individuals, and because we can't really make a board decision on it. The other thing is that I also went to the meetings that Director Fick went to. The BIA is really a business oriented in that we find out how they, what their opinion on is in water regulations and instituting relationships with utilities as they're planning a building project. And so we learn quite a bit from the building representatives that are on a panel, what their interest is in, well, I actually asked the question and was told later that it was a good question. I asked because I'm aware of empty homes, houses all over the county, and in particular in my neighborhood. And I asked them how committed they were to possibly renovating empty houses because they would already have established relationships with utilities, including water, and because they were complaining how complicated it is to get hookups for utilities. And basically they said they have no interest in renovating empty buildings that might be available, might even appear to be cheaper to prepare them for living in. And their answer was they'd rather build new buildings because it's cheaper. And not all of us believe that. I mean, that's just their attitude. They make more money off of building a new house or apartment complex or something. So anyway, that was my involvement at the meeting last Friday. And then Monday evening, it turned out that really the report in the invitation to the dinner meeting, there was no identification of who was going to present the information, which they did list as contacts advocacy to the federal government. And Rojas, has a lot of experience, and they basically just talked about trying to sell their business to companies and talked about the companies they already work with, and also used us as an example of some results. They also said they were continuing a working relationship with the California legislators that were visited over the last year by our directors and staff. And they're continuing contact with Adam Schiff, Senator Schiff, who is familiar with our district now, water district. And But basically, her presentation was the presentation that we got from Rojas, from another staff member who wasn't available for that meeting. She stepped in because they were ill or on vacation or something. They were just not available. So I found it fairly repetitive, although she was a clear presenter of the information. I thought she did a good job. But anyway, and I appreciated going to both of those events. So that's it for me. Thanks.
Thank you. Director Flowen.
Just a reminder, we have a booth at the farmer's market. It's right across from the laundromat. And Kathleen Radnich, who is our community outreach person, is in charge of that. I'm there to assist her. I do it every Saturday. So if you want to come and yell at me, don't throw anything, but if you want to yell at me, you want to sit with us for an hour or two or three or four, we have available chairs.
Cool, mister.
Yes, and we have 2 swamp coolers and a mister there also to mitigate
We're cool instead.
temperature issues. And our chair of our Citizens Advisory Council is frequently there. We have a veteran water guy that's frequently Frank Koch, who shows up over there and assists with us for a couple hours. So if you have any kind of questions and stuff like that, or if you want to vent or inform us, or especially me, about anything that goes on here, come on over. I have no enemies here. And so you're welcome. Period, over there as far as I'm concerned. And if you want to talk about something that's not quite appropriate for water, we'll just step out of the booth. Go sit up there at the laundromat. They got 2 benches and we'll talk things over. You know, you just want somebody to talk to about something. We're very open about that over there. And we have a big jug of ice cold Joshua Basin Water District water too. Thank you. That's all.
Oh, okay. I just want to thank everyone for the director reports. I want to thank the directors for keeping that portion to each director's report rather than opening up additional discussion after each one, which sometimes happens. And so I have my report. I'd like to thank staff and everyone for being here tonight. It's been a long night, but I appreciate it. I had prepared some more extensive comments tonight about our August 5th meeting and the process that led to the proposed reorganization of this board and the censure of me. Given the absence of General Manager Sarah Johnson, I'm going to reserve questions and comments specifically concerning her conduct until she's back here to respond. But I'm not going to allow August 5th simply to disappear. There was almost zero transparency regarding these 2 motions to recognize the board or censure me. I nor the public, and we've heard this tonight, were given any meaningful documents prior to this meeting, and I'm still waiting to receive more to this day. Not only was there no transparency, there was no accountability either. More people attended that meeting than any other JBWD meeting in known history. The board ultimately voted 4-1 to withdraw both items. From the public comments we heard then and continue to hear, it is clear the public expects answers. We have a responsibility to provide them. The district did not emerge from August 5th looking good. Public confidence was damaged and questions have been raised about district leadership. We need an honest accounting of how these actions were initiated and developed, who participated, what information supported them, and whether our processes worked as they should have. But what hasn't been spoken of is that for some time, I felt pressure to go along to get along. I raised concerns internally because I wanted to preserve working relationships and board cohesion. In doing so, I didn't publicly raise district issues I believed were important. Those doubts and conflict remained private, and the public didn't know enough about what was happening to understand why I was pushing for answers. This was my mistake. I was elected by the people of this district. My fellow directors did not elect me, and they cannot define my participation so narrowly at the district's urging that it creates a chilling effect on my ability to ask hard questions, seek information, and raise issues important to this district's future. So that boundary between governance and operations, that boundary runs both ways. I believe this past year that the district leadership crossed further into board governance and drove a wedge into this board. There's a lot to say about this, and hopefully I and the public will figure out what happened so it won't happen again. But there's a troubling question of transparency and accountability here. I also disagree with the director's July comment that the board should wait for district management to tell us what issues deserve our attention, to tell us what's important. That is clearly putting the cart before the horse. The directors were elected by the people to provide independent oversight of Joshua Basin's water district. The important word there is independent, and I think we've lost our way there. The district was involved, along with 2 board members, in the publishing of a proposed censure, actually maybe more, publishing of a proposed censure containing serious, unsubstantiated allegations about my conduct. Although it was never adopted and was withdrawn 4-1, those allegations remain in the public record. Members of this community have repeatedly urged me to respond. That's what I'm doing right now. I have resisted because I did not want to deepen the divisions here. But silence should not be mistaken for acceptance. We will address this in the future. Please ensure my comments are included in the minutes. I will send you a soft copy of this. Now we have to rebuild. We need clearer governance policies, meaningful access to public records. That shouldn't be hard to get, and it was hard for me to get. Minutes that fairly reflect what occurred and confidence that district records will be preserved when conflicts arise. There are concerns regarding Brown Act violations that have been challenged by the public, and I join the public in requesting any of those be investigated by an independent firm. I have some information about that as well. We are stewards and watchdogs for the public. We're not rubber stampers. We cannot perform that stewardship role without information, independence, and the freedom to ask difficult questions. A board should never try to silence one of its members simply because those questions make district leadership uncomfortable. That was one of the words used in the censure. Transparency, respect, accountability, integrity, those are the words in our value set. Those JBWD values have to apply even when it is uncomfortable, even then. Those JBW values matter most when things are difficult. Not just when they're easy, it's when they're difficult. Let's not forget that in the future. To everyone who showed up, wrote to us, and continues to participate, I heard you. I believe the board has heard you tonight. This hasn't been easy at all. I will keep doing this hard work for as long as I am able. This is your district. Please keep paying attention. Next is item 10, which are agenda items requested by the board. Wait a minute, I missed something here. There is some reports from staff. And we were given a written report. Are you guys, is that what we're supposed to use, or?
I don't have it in front of me, but I think I can.
Oh, you can have mine. I mean, or do we'll just keep the report, or did you want to make it? Or?
I can speak to it. That's not too, I'll test my memory.
Okay.
So you want me to go? You want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm going to challenge myself. I was able, or district staff was able to attend the up and coming ERNIE, which is the Emergency Response Network of the Inland Empire. So a conglomerate of water and wastewater utilities are resurrecting, for lack of a better word, the ERNIE. And we're going to be a part of that, which is a mutual aid network in case of an emergency. So after the risk and resilience assessment and the emergency response plan, which is still in process, learning about the importance of that, we decided to, or we were fortunate enough to be able to participate in the ERNIE coming back. So I'm excited to move forward and bring you more information regarding that. The second item, I think, on my report was that district staff has also received a preliminary report regarding the automated metering infrastructure, or AMI. My plan is to bring a very thorough report to you regarding AMI with as much information. I've been asked some questions from the public and from the board, and I have either answers to those already or plan to get answers from that. And I will be more than happy to share a thorough staff report and when I learn all about AMI at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Everybody's waiting for that AMI, so.
And then I just have a really quick report. The district had planned to prepare a prepayment or AKA a bond call, a partial bond call for the Copper Mountain Mesa Assessment District in September. However, the bondholder, USDA, has been having system issues and has been unable to verify our payoff calculations. So after consulting with our administrator, NBS, they're our bond administrator, we have made the decision to postpone the bond call until March, which is the next opportunity. We could not resolve this issue within the time frame, the notification time frame that was needed. So we'll be looking at that, hopefully with USDA's cooperation and getting all of the details confirmed. We'll be looking at that in March of 2027. And we look forward to doing that, as of course it is a state's interest. So that's it for me.
All right, next is item 10. Thank you. Item 10, which are agenda items requested by the board. Under our process, any director may call or correspond with the general manager and request any item on the agenda. But I want you guys to know the public may also request agenda items by calling the district or emailing customerservice@jbwd.com. We also track agenda item requests from the board. There's a list here. And is there anybody that has any requested agenda items?
Well, director's comments, I've made some comments towards wanting to have on the September 2nd, at least an address to the status of the Lovemore Ranch application through the Alta Basin Water District. I would like that to happen, but before then, I'd like to, whatever is available to be by next midweek, to just have copies of whatever the level of status of that project sent to all the board members. It's not a report, it's just the status and send us whatever you got.
3 paragraphs in an email.
Yeah.
Director Jarlsberg, did you have anything, agenda requests?
No, but I agree with Director Fick. I'd like to hear whatever you have. Been asking about it.
I just want to, I want to say that I may follow up with our general manager pro tem about what maybe could be on the agenda for the next time if you're requesting it, like what that would be.
Yeah. I know we're in survival mode right now.
Yes, right.
But this has been lingering for the last 3 or 4 months.
By survival mode, we mean because there's a lot of overload at the district right now. And so speaking of that, though, I have a couple things on here that have been sitting here, a couple of them since March, but I guess they'll just have to be weighted because 9 and 10, wastewater strategy, which I've actually been asking for every single year since I got here, and look where we are now. And then a landscaping policy discussion, because I think that we need some clarity on that. What do we think about water use for landscaping? And we've had someone come in here and tell us he thinks that because he's growing, plants, we need to, and, cooling the environment, we need to give him a break on his water. So we need to have some discussions about that. And then we see one for nitrates and then Cadiz. The nitrates thing is, we've gotten Director Fick and I met with somebody from MWA. And so we really would like to talk about that sometime if it fits within the limitations that we have right now. All right. So that's it for the meeting now. I want to thank you, board members and visitors. Wow, you guys were stalwarts. I can't believe you stayed this long. That's amazing. Yeah. Sorry we don't have punch and cookies for you afterwards, or a cocktail. With no further business before the board, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Is there a second? All right, this meeting is adjourned at 8:31 p.m.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye. Thank you.